Hey everybody, I'm Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Battlebond set review.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's episode 148, right, of the Commander's Brew podcast.
Yes, it is.
It is yes. 148, 48 hours, train 48 for all you Toronto heads out there.
Wow. Deep cut.
Deep cut for the Southern Ontario audience. Yeah, it's the big Battlebond set review.
Yes. Wow. This set came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I didn't even think it was brewing, but here it is.
I barely knew it was even a thing that they were doing this to at a giant, like, draft set. I saw it on, like, the sidebar of, like, the Magic Reddit.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's Battlebond? I thought it was going to be, like an anthology box type of thing.
Yeah, right?
Like, that's what I thought it was going to be. So I thought it was like, oh, it's probably like some board game thing where, like, you buy it, you get like 4 decks and you play it or something.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I guess that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Battlebond. But instead it's this really neat thing. Which we're gonna talk about.
We will. But we must acknowledge that we can't do this show without the help of some wonderful groups and people. The first of which, want to thank our patrons, patreon.com. We're hanging out in Discord, having a lot of fun. That's a blast. Getting them perks. We are thankful for Ultimate Guard sleeves and boxes. My favorite sleeves are them matte sleeves, Ultimate Guard mats. They last forever. And I'm a big fan of the Wizards Tower, wizardtower.com. Let's hear an ad from them now. Welcome to the MTG Arena with Battlebond. Okay, let me clarify. Not MTG Arena, the program that's in beta that's meant to compete against MTGO. Okay, it's not competing against MTGO. It's kind of just the same family of things. It's different. It is online, so it is MTG online. It is technically also MTG. Anyway, Battlebond is not about that. It's about arena magic. MTG, oh boy. You'll have duels. Jeez, we named this confusing. This is a confusing name. Confused about what's going on, but I do know that from this point forward, use coupon code Summer of Brews to get 5% off your order at the Wizards Tower, wizardtower.com. And you get 3% kickback on your next order. And guess what? If you order singles $15 or more, they'll ship to Canada for free. The Wizards Tower, where wizards make a tower. I mean, every name gets weird if you think about it deeply enough, right? Like, what is cheese? Plural of chi? I don't know.
Well, okay then.
Yeah, I can understand the confusion.
Yes, when there's 2 heads involved, you must be pretty confused.
Oh, I mean, I hadn't even considered that there might be 2 heads. That's an extra layer of confusion. Just like to welcome people into the MTG Arena. People might think, are we talking about Battlebond? Are we talking about the program?
Yeah, well, I mean, the 2 heads of the corporation, like the 2 heads of the sides of the game that you can play, right?
Right, the digital arm.
Exactly, the digital head, and then there's the, like, analog or cardboard head.
Of course.
Right? So there's, like, obviously some things there. Yeah. Yeah. Some confusion. Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about Battlebond.
Wow. So, okay, Battlebond is, like I said, we just came out of nowhere. It's one of this occupies the same spot that a conspiracy set might. These cards this is not going to be in the standard block of releases. Like, none of these cards are, by their release, doesn't make them legal in standard. I'm not sure if there's a reprint that happens to be legal, but So I can't say none of the cards are legal officially. I guess the mountain and the plains, those are fine.
Those are fine.
But this is one of those side sets where they get to have a little bit more fun with it. They get to kind of expand in how we play. Conspiracy was meant to play as a draft format with these weird Draft Matters cards, and you play multiplayer. This is meant to be drafted with two-headed giant at the front. Like, that's the main thing of this set.
That's right, and not the card two-headed giant, which mysteriously and inexplicably is absent from this set.
Inexplicably.
Like, how are they going to do that to us?
Yeah.
Put that card in there. I don't care. Just put it in.
And they just made it too.
Yeah, right.
Like they haven't ever. And isn't it kind of weird that there hasn't been a card called two-headed giant before that?
I guess maybe they. I don't know. Anyways, it's just strange. I thought for sure as a good joke they would put this card in there.
Yeah.
But it occupies a rare slot, and maybe they wanted some more like fun stuff for it or something. Maybe they did have the plan that at first. But anyways, yes, this is two-headed giant. So two-headed giant is of course the format, and like we're commander players. We might not be super like versed in two-headed giant, right? And maybe someone listening, they haven't been playing Magic as long, and they might not know about two-headed giant. I know I didn't know about it when I first started playing. Of course not. How would I have known? But this used to be a tournament sanctioned format. Like this used to be a thing that you could play at GPs and stuff, right? Or PTQs or whatever.
I think I don't
so.
Know.
It was at one point for sure. Yes, the sealed version, not the draft version. But anyways, two-headed giant, of course, is when you and a partner play as like the same head. You share a life total, and you can block for each other and things like that. And it's like you're allowed to like look at each other's cards and share strategy and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of the way I kind of think of it. It's not like I take a turn, then my other head takes a turn. It's just like it's kind of like it would be the same as if you just decided to play with two decks and just keep one hand in one of your hands and one hand in the other. Like you can team up on everything. Yeah. How you attack, how you block. You can both cast spells in your main phase before combat or after combat. But yeah, you just gotta. Yeah, you're just sort of two double brains. And does that work in your favor or does that work against you?
Very interesting. One thing about two-headed giant I can tell you right now, it takes longer than a normal game because when you discuss every little move with your partner, that's just going to add on a lot of time to the game.
Every little move.
And you always do because you don't want to be rude and just go ahead and start doing stuff because like what if your partner has something that can help you or whatever. So you have to converse a little bit before each turn. So that's just the way it works. It's just the way the format is. But it is lots of fun. It really is. It's a good time. Actually, Sean and I played some two-headed giant commander at GP Toronto this past like last week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And yeah, that's what we're going to look at here is we're not really going to evaluate these cards as two-headed giant cards. We're going to evaluate these cards as commander cards, obviously. This is a commander
That's
podcast.
how we do it. That's how we do it. When we review sets, we look at how these cards work for commander. We're going to look at the legendaries and see which ones might make good new commanders or maybe if they're better in the 99. And we're going to highlight our favorite cards that we think are great for our main format, multiplayer commander.
Now, you can play two-headed giant commander multiplayer. It seems like it would be a bit of a mess, but it's definitely an option. Like if you have 6 people and you want to play like 3 two-headed giants, right? Like you could do that.
Yes.
It gets the game going a little bit in that like that's 2 people taking their turns at once type of thing, and really you're playing a 3-player game sort of at that point.
Right.
But you know what? It's certainly like 6 players is not a great number for commander because usually you split into like 2-3 person pods. But it's nice to know that it's another option. If you feel like playing some two-headed giant. But anyways, let's get into it here. Let's talk about some of these cards when it comes to commander. And I will now remove the two-headed giant card from the screen because it has nothing to do with this set anymore.
Okay, great. So let's start with the new mechanics in this set, right? The new mechanics that we want to, and then see how they work for a commander. The main new one is partner with. So you remember how partner came back a while ago? There were a bunch of commanders. It was with the precons of C16, C17. I forget which number.
16. Right.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so that meant you could combine any of the partners in your command zone, and that set your color identity. We can do that again, except this time they made it very specific. Certain cards say partner with another specific card. You can put both of those cards in your command zone as your commander, and your color identity will be the combined color identity of all of them. Or you can just put one of them in the 99, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you get to go tutor up the other partner for it.
So I guess you could make this is a bit of commander. This is a bit of a confusing thing already, because actually partner with is not something that just enables them to be your commander. I just gotta say.
Oh, is that true?
That is true. So, because there are legendaries and non-legendaries.
Oh, of course, of course.
So
I did know that. I just,
So for example, let's just talk about the first one here. So, partner with is actually the mechanic that lets you if you play this card, you get to go search for another card. Right. So, for example, we have Blaring Recruiter is 3 and a white for a 2/2 that has partner with Blaring Captain. And I'll just read the rules text because it's pretty self-explanatory. When this creature enters the battlefield, target player may put Blaring Captain into their hand from their library, then shuffle. The really neat thing about this that I learned just from looking up all the cards for this review is that you don't need to have Blaring Captain in your library. It can be another player. So that's the two-headed giant slant on it, right? So like
player.
If I have Blaring Recruiter and Sean has Blaring Captain in his library somewhere, I can make him go get his Blaring Captain. Blaring Recruiter also says pay 2 and a white and create a 1/1 white warrior creature token, which is really cool. And then we'll just take a quick look at Blaring Captain, which is 3 and a black. So actually, even if these were legendary, you couldn't have one as your commander and the other in your 99. That's one thing that you cannot do. Because they're all different colors, right? Well, because for example,
that's right.
If Blaring Recruiter was our captain, we'd be a mono white commander deck, right?
Right.
And Blaring Captain partners with Blaring Recruiter, just like the other way around. And it says whenever Blaring Captain attacks, attacking warriors get +1/+1. So it's good for you to have them in the same deck. But if you're playing two-headed giant, you can fish one out of your partner's deck. And in Commander, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in here where it's like, yes, we could use this in Commander, but we probably won't.
Right.
I'm probably not going to let my opponent pull out a card for free because they're not going to help me win. Right?
And also, what are the chances my opponent has Blaring Captain in their deck?
Exactly.
And my mono white.
So these are certainly two of the lesser Commander impacted cards. We just wanted to show you these for the mechanics. So now, as Sean pointed out, though, if these creatures were legendary, then all that stuff applies. Then you could actually have both of them as your commander, just like the old partner mechanic. However, they only can partner with themselves. You can't pick one and then Thrasios or something.
Right, because they only partner with one person. They're very particular.
Exactly. So I think that's pretty clear. I think we got that going. Really, for the regular cards, it's just a fetching mechanic. And for the legendaries, it will be... and we'll get to the legendaries in a sec. It will be a thing where they can be your commanders.
So what other ability comes with the Battlebond? Right.
So the next one is Assist. And Assist is a neat mechanic that lets other players in the game help you pay for a spell. This has a bit more of a commander... this not more, but this has a decent amount of commander potential. The example we have here is Play of the Game. It's 6 white for a sorcery that has assist. So another player can pay up to 6 generic of the spell's cost. So they can't pay the colored portion of the mana cost, but they can help you pay for the generic portion. And this card specifically says exile all non-land permanents. So let's say I paid 2 and 2 white. Another player in the game could pay 4. And it can't be split up. It's another player only. It's only one other player. So one person can't chip in 1, another person chips in another 2 or whatever, right? You can't do that. It's got to be one other player helps you pay for the spell.
This is very interesting in a regular multiplayer commander game. We can see that in Two-Headed Giant, you're going to want to team up with your other head. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. But in this, even if it's mine and your best interest to do this effect so that we can get down a third player who maybe has way too much going on their board, how are you going to convince them to
to leave the mana up or something?
If you have 8 mana on the board. Like, if you only have 7 mana, I can see how this makes sense. But if you have the possibility to pay 8, how are you going to convince your other person to be like, why aren't you using all of your mana for this? Like, why do you want me to pay for something when you can pay for it yourself?
It's actually the reason why I don't think assist is actually going to be a real commander mechanic. There's 1 or 2 exceptions. This could be one. Like, you could make an argument that this spell is, but I still think it's too much. You're relying on someone else leaving up 4 mana. Like, you have to convince someone to do that. You know what I mean? Because on their turn, you have to be like, hey, hold up 4 mana to help me cast a spell. And they're going to be like, I don't know. They're just, I think it's too much.
I mean, even if they want to assume, what is this effect worth? Like I think we can find this effect for 6.
Yeah. So planar cleansing is actually, I think that's only destroy.
What's that one? There's that new.
Yeah,
planar ones.
Planar cleansing is destroy all non-land permanents, and that's cost 6, 3 and 3 white.
I think this is Hour of. Oh no, that's destroy also. I know that there's one. I gotta find it. Exile all non-land. Urza's there isn't one. There isn't another effect that just exiles all non-land permanents except for Perilous Vault's activated ability.
There's sudden disappearance. No, that doesn't do it. And Urza's Ruinous Blast does it all except for non-legendaries. Except for legendaries, rather. So this is a pretty unique ability.
I just learned that.
Right? Yeah, I guess. But it's going to be tough, right? It's going to be tough because you are going to want to make sure you can do it. So on your turn, because this is a sorcery, you must have you must have someone else with mana up. You just have to. And I think that really limits the playability of this spell. Like, you want to be able, it's either it costs 8, which is way too much. It takes up your entire turn, or you're going to have to, convince someone to help you pay for it when you could have just paid for it all by yourself. Like, the only way you do it is if you only have 5 or 6 mana.
Right.
That's all you have at this point in the game. And then someone goes, I'll chip in 2 to help you.
Because we are desperate. We need to resolve this. But if you're truly desperate, an opponent would be like, well, you're also desperate, so pay your 8 mana. Like,
yeah, it's tough, man. It's very tough. One thing I will say for a lot of these cards, and these mechanics specifically, is if you play other other formats in Commander, like Secret Partners, or Star, Star won't count, but actually it might. Secret Partners, the Star formation, where you can only attack the 2 people across from you, whatever. There's that weird, I can never remember the name of it. The one where there's a king,
Emperor.
Emperor, yeah. There's that game as well. So all those fun variations on Commander. These cards will end up being pretty good in those, right? So you might, I've said this before on the show, but our friend Guy, who plays in our meta, he has a Secret Partners deck that he's built for playing Secret Partners, and it's really fun. When we sit down and we decide we're going to play it, he pulls that one out, and there's a lot of giving things away. There's a lot of helping people do stuff. So these cards are going to come into play in those types of games. I just don't know how effective they're going to be in a regular free-for-all game of multiplayer Commander.
Yeah, I mean, they sound like they're really fun political cards to play around with it, but in the end, I don't see how assist is, unless the ability, if the face value of the card is worth playing, if you're willing to run an 8 mana exile non permanents, and as we've seen, there isn't another way to do that on a card,
yeah,
so true, maybe that's worth it for you.
There are some other ones later on. We'll get to them. And
okay,
they will be worth it. And we'll talk about it again.
Cool.
There.
So now let's move on to another ability that's built for multiplayer with teams in mind. Regna's Sanction. This was our preview card. 3 and a white for sorcery, and the key ability is friend or foe. So for each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature they control, and each foe chooses one untapped creature they control and then taps the rest. Again, in a typical free-for-all multiplayer, you'll probably make everyone your foe. There's not a lot of reason to make anyone a friend in this. But in this actual format with teams, Secret Partner, 2 at a giant, this is very neat.
Yeah, I actually think so. These ones have a lot more Commander mileage, I think, than assist, for example, because first of all, these cards are totally fine if you're the only friend, right, that you name, because you do have to name yourself. So you name yourself a friend and everyone else a foe, like you just said. Yes. And you get a cool ability because you'll get this bonus of putting a +1/+1 counter on everything, and then it does affect the rest of the board in a good way too. So it's totally worth playing on its own. But there is that added ability of having that political move of saying, well, Sean, like if you, okay, like your turn's coming up next. What about if I name you as a friend and you attack, Butler, and that's and I'll put all these counters on your thing, and you're like, well, yeah, okay, sure, no problem, right? Like there's a little bit of a political move. Like I got you to attack one of the guys I was worried about by helping you out a little bit. And it's great, and in doing this, I also like tap all of Butler's creatures, so like maybe you can take him out in that move, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So interesting political implications. I think this is partner with is really cool ability for commanders, but for the inside the 99, I think this is a really neat thing we're going to see a lot of. And I think they've really worked to make the friend or foe mechanic make sense for commander. It's really good.
I want to just quickly mention the big difference between friend or foe and assist is friend or foe is a team mechanic that lets you give to other people. I can give you something as a friend, but assist asks you to take from people. You have to be like, hey, give me this. And whenever you're doing political moves, doing someone a favor without having, like, just giving them something out of nowhere, like picking friend, has great implications in politics. But whenever you have to be like, hey man, help me do this, then you're already there, you already psychologically become someone who like needs something from them, so like that changes it automatically. I think just from a psychology point of view, friend or foe works better.
Yeah. And there's one like sort of little mechanic thing here that won't come up too much in Commander, but it's the idea of like a team. So, for example, the card Combo Attack is 2 and a green. It's a sorcery, and it says 2 target creatures your team controls each deal damage equal to their power to target creature. So this is just like the fight card in the set, and you can have it be 2 creatures dealing it instead. And it's just straight up dealing damage. It's actually not fighting. So in Commander, again, this is going to be like a Secret Partners thing. Once your partner is revealed, I guess.
Does that ever happen? I don't think that ever happens in Secret Partners.
Yeah, I guess your team. Yeah,
you never reveal until you die.
You don't reveal until you die, so you can't even do that. So this is like only 2-headed giant, I guess.
I think.
Or I guess if you're playing again Emperor, like you might have someone, or I don't know, some other weird thing. But team is definitely not really going to come up in Commander. But it's just we just got to mention it because it's in.
Let's be honest. This card we could do way better anyway.
This is not a Commander card. But it is funny, like what the definition of your team is in Magic. Like what if I I can see people being like, what do you mean? My team is my friend right here. Like this is my team. Like no, you're not on the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a rules thing.
There is a legal rule sense of what a team is.
And I wrote a place here for returning mechanics, but we don't have to talk about that if we don't want to. Whatever. Support is back, and that just means putting +1/+1 counters on things. Okay. Great. Now let's get into it. Let's get into the stuff that we care about the most, the legendaries, the commanders. We've got some spicy stuff here. Let's dive right in with the kind of the biggest, splashiest combination of mechanics we've seen in a while.
It's Will and Rowan Kenrith, a couple of planeswalkers. We've been promised that if you open a pack with one partner with, you will have the other partner with in the same pack. Correct. So Will and Rowan will be in the economy at exactly the same rate, because whenever anyone opens one, they open the other. These cards specifically say they can be your commander. Thank you, Wizards, for just adding that line of text. You didn't have to do that, but why not? It just makes sense. So this is the first time we can have 2 planeswalkers as our commanders. So now we always have access to 2 planeswalkers whenever we want if we're playing red and blue. Andy, which one do you want to read?
Okay, I'll read Will Kenrith. He's the 4 and 2 blue legendary planeswalker, Will. 4 loyalty. And he has a +2, a -2, and a -8. So his +2 is until your next turn, up to 2 target creatures each have base power and toughness 0-3 and lose all abilities. So you just turn them into 0-3s with no abilities for until your next turn, which is pretty good. -2 is target player draws 2 cards. Until your next turn, instant, sorcery, and planeswalker spells that player casts cost 2 colorless less to cast. Or 2
That's
generic.
Huge.
So that's really good.
Yeah.
Draw 2 cards and stuff costs less. That's nuts. And then the ultimate is -8. Target player gets an emblem with, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So 3 turns of plussing will Kenrith. 2 turns of plussing and then 1 for the ultimate. So you're 3 away from the ultimate there.
Yep.
Which is a pretty sweet ultimate.
Yeah.
Especially in these colors, right? 6 mana for a planeswalker is for a commander is a lot. 6 mana for a planeswalker is a lot. Anyways, I don't know. So let's take
that first ability is big though, because a lot of enemy creatures have it's the abilities that we want to stop. So to stop an ability until your next turn is pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad at all, for sure.
And then Rowan's, are they brother and sister?
They look like they're brother and sister,
yeah. Rowan Kenrith, 4 red, legendary planeswalker Rowan. She starts with 4 loyalty counters and also has a +2, a -2, and a -8. They're very symmetrical. +2, during target player's next turn, each creature that player controls attacks if able. So you kind of like force the whole team to attack, maybe tap, and so you can make them vulnerable to other things. -2, Rowan Kenrith deals 3 damage to each tapped creature target player controls. So, if you just walk it through, the first turn you plus her, and then everyone will have to tap to attack, and then the next turn you minus her, and then everyone takes 3 damage. 3 damage on a creature, great against tokens, but sometimes not a big enough effect for our format.
Yeah, not really a big commander thing.
-8, target player gets an emblem with, whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So we've got copying spells, and we've got copying abilities that are not mana abilities, which is pretty neat. But I like the notion, it's going to be tough to get both of them out at once, but this is why Super Friends decks are so tough, because when you have more than one Planeswalker can be dealt with fairly easily. We can usually spend a couple of resources to attack through and get it. But at this point, now you have to choose, who are we going to attack first? Because sometimes you can't get both Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess you let Rowan get big if you have to pick one.
You have to prioritize, right, what the threat is. It's all about threat assessment at that point. And it's hard, right? But it happens a lot where Planeswalker decks, Super Friends decks, they end up being, it's just like a game of arch enemy then, because everyone just has to keep the Planeswalkers down, right? You can't let them ultimate. So everyone starts attacking, and the only way that, then the game becomes all about that. And if there are some 1 or 2 people who can't attack just because they're not drawing their stuff, it's like, well, then the Planeswalker deck can run out of control. It happens. We've seen it.
Oh boy.
So yeah, I don't know. What do you think of these guys as commanders? I think think the blue one is the better of the two, certainly.
Yes, the blue one is the better of the two. As commanders, they both cost 6. You're running Izzet colors, so you're either going to focus on some sort of artifacty thing or some sort of spell matters thing. There aren't a lot of blue. Maybe you're running some kind of control/aggressive thing where you're going to control big stuff but get little things down. In either case, none of these Planeswalkers seem like they suit that deck. I'm not clear how to build around these two except to do just a generic blue-red deck. Maybe you go blue-red Super Friends. You put Ral Zarek and Dak Faden and
blue, and all the Jaces and one of the Tezzerets and Chandras and stuff.
Chandras,
the problem with red Planeswalkers are just, they're never any good.
Mono red ones aren't good, but ones that are red and other things are really fun. And
red blue ones are definitely fun. We don't get any access to any of the other ones for running these guys as our commander. Yeah. I think these are excellent additions to a Super Friends deck. I think Will Kenrith specifically is. I think Rowan is, if you can get her ultimate, which is it's not really a great idea to put a Planeswalker in your deck just for the ultimate.
No, you can't build around assuming you're going to get their ultimates, because you won't.
But her ultimate means that you copy Planeswalker's abilities, right? So that's a really fun thing to have in a Planeswalker deck.
Yeah.
Because Planeswalker's loyalty abilities are activated, right? So
yeah, that's true.
So that's neat. That's definitely something. But I actually don't love these guys as commanders. They each cost 6. That's a lot. Planeswalkers are a little fragile to begin with, especially now that we're getting a lot more destroy target planeswalker type cards, right? Like Vraska's Contempt and things like we're seeing that come up more. So it's even becoming easier for people to deal with planeswalkers. Anyways,
I would be curious to see how the economy of these goes, because Will goes in Atraxa decks, right? But Rowan cannot. Yeah. So I wonder, like, I think the demand for will be higher. So that there will be extra Rowans lying around that no one wants. So I bet you could pick up a Rowan fairly cheap.
Yeah, you can definitely pick up a Rowan for very cheap, especially since in order for her to wipe the board or try to wipe the board of small creatures, she has to do her +1 or +2 first. Like that stinks.
And then so what's to say they're not going to be, well, if I have to attack, I guess I'll attack you and Rowan. So,
yeah, right. It's like, oh no, please don't. Yeah, forcing things to attack, like when it's Gideon, it makes sense. It's fine because he can help himself a bit, but Rowan's not so good. Anyways, let's move on to the next partners here. Sure. Which one do you want to read?
Oh, the first one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So this is... Oh, no, I have to say it, though. This is Zinder Split.
Yeah.
Eye of Wisdom. 4 and a blue for a 1/4 legendary homunculus. And it partners with Okun, Eye of Chaos. But I'll read Zinder Split. Zinder Split says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, flip a coin until you lose a flip. Whenever a player wins a coin flip, draw a card. That's it. So sometimes you draw cards, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you draw 2 cards, and rarely you draw 3 cards.
Yeah, rarely, yeah. Although it's the same chance every time, so you never know.
But I will say it is not a May ability, and you have to keep flipping until you lose a flip. So it is possible to lose the game by flipping nothing but wins and then eventually drawing yourself out.
Yeah, draw yourself out with Zinder Split is one of the ultimate Magic achievements.
It's so difficult.
So difficult. I mean, unless you're down to like 3 cards in your deck, and there's
I guess whatever.
So. But no, if you start a game of Commander with Zinder Split and mill yourself out, that'd be amazing. His partner, though, or her partner, who knows, Zinder Split, is Okun, Eye of Chaos, 4 and a red for a 3/3 Cyclops Berserker. And partners with Zinder Split. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, flip a coin until you lose a flip. Whenever a player wins a coin flip, double Okun's power and toughness until end of turn. So on the beginning of combat, you flip Okun. At the beginning of combat, you also flip for Zinder Split. So you have both of them out. You're flipping 2 coins.
Is that true? Are you doing 2 separate instances of flip a coin until you lose a flip?
They're 2 triggers, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So you flip for Zinder Split's thing, you flip until you lose. But both creatures will get the benefits
when you win a flip.
Exactly, because it's just whenever a player wins a coin flip. So you're doing it, obviously.
Sure.
So yeah, I really like these guys. I think these guys are really cool.
They seem neat. I question the reliability of Zinder Split's little balcony on Okun's shoulder. I don't think the way that arm is swinging around, I don't think you could stay on there very long.
Zinder Split looks like it's a pretty acrobatic little creature.
It's
got a little cape on and some hammer pants there.
I like his hammer pants.
Yeah, his hammer pants are cool.
He's very cute.
Yeah, Zinder Split's very cute. And is it wearing are they wearing a shirt that has a P on it? What's that? What's on it?
I think that's just sort of like the commander symbol. I think it's just one of those
just a shape. It's just like a weird shape. Okay,
it looks symmetrical kind of shape.
I don't know if it was his high school shirt or something.
Oh, maybe. Okun has something on his bracers, on his wrist guards.
Yeah.
Oh, do you think it's their team? Okun has sort of eyeballs to be like Zinder Split, and Zinder Split has something that's maybe a big brutish head.
Maybe they're kind of the same. Maybe their thing is little eyeballs.
Yeah.
They each have one eye. I love that they each. It's a Cyclops and a homunculus, and they each only have one eye. It's really great.
That's very cute.
I love these guys. I think these guys are a very fun. You make these are your commander coin flip deck, right? All of a sudden, now you put all the stuff that cares about coin flipping. You put in your Rahl Zareks, you put in your Krark's thumbs.
Yeah.
You break the rules a little bit, and you put in your Krark's other thumb as well.
Yeah.
For sure, if someone dropped a Zinder Split Okun deck and they said, "Hey, there's a couple of unstable cards in this deck. Is that okay?" It's yes, of course it's okay. because this is you obviously are playing the coin flip deck. I think that's really great, right? That's super fun.
See, I'm so excited to brew an Is It deck with these two. I'm not excited to brew a Will and Rowan.
No, I know, because it's too much for them, and they do something that I think other Is It decks probably even do better anyways.
Yeah.
Whereas Okun and Zinder Split definitely offer you a different
fun
little angle, and like it's still utilizing the colors perfectly, right? They're gonna get you the draw, red's gonna give you the power, and you're gonna be able to do things as you draw the cards, things like that. It's great. So love these two. Very, very feeling very good about them. Okay, next. Our card was featured Regna, but we didn't see Regna yet. But here they are, Regna and her partner Krav. Okay, I'll read Regna.
Okay.
Regna the Redeemer, 5 and a white for a legendary angel, 4/4. She partners with Krav the Unredeemed, and she has flying. And it says at the beginning of each end step, if your team gained life this turn, create 2 1/1 white warrior creature tokens. Pretty classic white abilities there. Cares about gaining life, makes little tokens. Okay.
It seems like you're going to get those 2 tokens pretty much every turn because white decks do that easily, but you're never going to get more than 2 per turn. Again, your team could give you those 2 tokens, but for the most part, you'll only be getting 2 per turn. Fine. Krav the Unredeemed, 4 and a black. So this makes you an Orzhov deck if you put both of those in the command zone. Krav is a legendary demon, 3/3, partners with Regna, as we know, and black, sacrifice X creatures. Target player draws X cards and gains X life. Put X +1/+1 counters on Krav, the Unredeemed. Krav's ability is amazing.
Yeah. Krav's ability is very good.
I'm going to sneeze.
Krav!
That's how amazing it is.
Yeah. Krav the Redeemed is a very strong ability. You pay a single black and sack a bunch of creatures to draw a bunch of cards and then gain that much life. Like, that is a pretty strong commander on its own. It would have to be mono black, of course, which, anytime you're going
it's
mono,
no problem.
It is not great. However, mono black is probably one of the better mono colors to go in Magic, period, right?
Well,
there's a lot of stuff that really helps with mono black. But I really think that Krav is so good, and Regna is like just sort of okay, but they teamed up. I think they really are pretty powerful.
Oh yeah, because you gain life when you use Krav's ability, therefore you get 2 tokens.
And obviously you're going to be spitting out a ton of tokens. White black can do that very easily. What's his name? The guy who makes the little thralls, that legendary dude.
And Edric Sar.
Yes, right? Like that's a perfect card for this.
Making zombie tokens is very easy in black. You could I'm just blown away. I think, and then Krav has that ability, right? So like Krav is a commander, so Krav gets +X +1/+1 counters. So this becomes one of those things where it's like, I gotta put something in front of it because you have the potential to sack most of your team and just kill me out of nowhere with this thing.
Yeah, and it does not require a tap from Krav.
No.
So Krav can be attacking and do this mid-attack at instant speed.
I mean, it's not a free sack outlet, but it's, if anyone's
pretty close to it.
It's close to it, so it's like, I guess I will wrath the board. It's like, okay, in response, I'll sacrifice all of my creatures. I'll draw, 11 cards, gain 11 life.
Yeah, right.
Krav will die from the wrath too, but who cares? I'm way up in this transaction.
You can also sack Krav to himself.
Yep.
Which is always a good, like whenever it says sacrifice another creature, like that is slightly less good than when the creatures can sacrifice themselves. So I really like this combo. I think these guys are great.
They're fun, and because it's target player, you can mill a person out with Krav if the opportunity shows itself.
You can just tell that. I mean, I don't know how involved with this particular set Mark Rosewater was. But I know from listening to his show, he loves it when things target. Like he'd prefer to have everything say target player as opposed to like only like you draw 3 cards or whatever.
Yes.
He'd always prefer to have that flexibility, but it can confuse newer players or whatever, so they don't use it as much anymore. But like this target player stuff is all over this set.
Yeah.
So for those players that know about those little niche abilities to be able to use them, this is a great set for that.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. So that's the white-black combo. Next one we have here is black-green.
Yeah, Golgari. First up, Vitress the Veiled, 2 and a black. Virtus. Yes, that's right. Virtus the Veiled, 2 and a black, legendary Azra Assassin. It is only 1/1, but partners with Gorm the Great, obviously. It has Death Touch, and whenever Virtus the Veiled deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. Ugh.
So, I mean, pretty tough to get a 1/1 through, even though it has Death Touch.
Yeah,
I wonder if his partner will help with that. Gorm the Great, 3 and a green for a 2/7 that partners with Virtus the Veiled, has Vigilance, and says Gorm the Great must be blocked if able, and Gorm must be blocked by 2 or more creatures if able. So it's not going to guarantee that if you have Gorm and Virtus out that Virtus will get through. However, if they need more than 2 creatures to block, so look out.
Yep. Right? Not bad.
Otherwise, this Virtus is going to come in and knock you down for half your life total.
Yeah.
So that's neat. This is a neat combo. Like, this is something that Golgari doesn't normally see.
No.
We've got this sort of like blocking, this attacking and blocking like trickery going on here. Kind of an interesting bit of like 2 creatures creating a sort of evasion. Which is
sort of. It's a very interesting thing. It's like half of a lure, a little bit of a lure, which is very green.
Yeah, very green thing, definitely. I like that. I like that this could be like that. That's the theme of a deck like this, right? Is like sneaking these other little characters through. I mean, I think you definitely run a Vraska in here.
Sure.
The original Vraska the Unseen.
Yeah.
Her. I mean, it's her ultimate, but still, she makes the black assassins that when they get in, they just make that person lose the game.
Crazy.
But yeah, so I like the different take on these colors. Like this doesn't care about the graveyard at all, which is I think kind of fun.
I have to admit, I was at first unexcited by this as a commander duo because I couldn't immediately think of this is not what Golgari does. But that actually is an interesting thing. I like when we do have these. I would like to think about let's do something different from Golgari.
And it is like you're saying, like the lure ability is definitely a green thing.
Yeah.
And the Virtus's thing of like a small Death Toucher getting in and losing half their life, that's a black thing.
Yeah.
So together, this is like they're not straying outside the color pie for this. The only weird thing might be that like Gorm kind of has Menace, which isn't really a green thing, but it's not outside of the realm. I feel like Menace can pop up on green one. Like maybe there's another creature that has something similar to this. But anyways, this is cool. This is like I'm not as stoked about these two, but I think you could definitely have some fun with this deck.
Yeah,
I do like that. Sorry,
go
ahead.
Why didn't they give it Menace and must be blocked if able? Wouldn't that cover it?
Gorm the Great must be blocked if able. Maybe there's a weird thing of like if it has Menace and says it must be blocked. Maybe that would be just maybe that was more confusing to read than this, because this is pretty clear.
Yeah, it's clear.
And Gorm must be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Whereas if it said just be blocked and Menace, like that might not be. I bet you that's what it was.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I think it's really cool that Gorm the Great has Captain America's Wakanda shields from Infinity War.
Oh yeah.
Remember in that movie they're like, and get this man a shield, and then they don't really give him his shield. They give him these 2 like wrist guard things.
Yeah.
In Infinity War. Well, there you go. Gorm the Great has them, and they're huge now.
Oh, I figured out why he doesn't have Menace, because then you could take your single blocker and block Virtus with that single blocker. Like if I only had one blocker, it wouldn't be able to block Gorm, so I could not block Gorm with it.
Right.
This way Gorm can be blocked by a single creature if that's your only creature.
If that's your only creature, yeah. Okay, yeah. Good call. Way to go. Okay, we got a Boros pair here. Which one do you want?
It doesn't matter to me. I'll go first. Khorvath, Bright Flame, 5 and a red, legendary creature dragon, 3/4, and it partners with Sylvia Brightspear. It has flying and haste, so 6 mana for a 3/4 flying haste. Tricky. And knights your team control have flying and haste. It's like, if you build around it, that's a pretty strong ability.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And Sylvia Brightspear is 2 and a white for a legendary human knight. It's a 2/2 with double strike, and dragons your team controls have double strike.
Whoa!
So clearly, knights and dragons.
That's she's cool. Riding the dragon, and and so the dragon gives her flying and haste because she's riding it, and she gives the dragon double strike because the dragon hits, and she hits with her sword on top of it.
Yeah, there you go. It's thematically very, very nice.
Yeah. And it just further confuses what an Archon is.
Remember, the Archon is one being.
It doesn't make sense.
I know it doesn't, but it is. It's one being. It's 2 things, but it's one being.
Anyway.
Bright Spear, Bright Flame. I like this. I mean, it's it's very Boros at the same time. Double strike and haste all together. Weirdly, like half and half tribal deck.
Yeah, I've never seen a Boros Dragons deck. That could be interesting. I mean, it's also going to be half knights. It's like, that's not bad. That seems like it might be neat.
Giving my knights flying and haste, I guess that's pretty good. But giving my dragons double strike is really good.
Yes.
And there's lots of red dragons, and there's a couple good white dragons. One of our preview card for C16 was a white.
That's right.
We had a red and white dragon.
Sunscorch Regent is one of the best dragons out there. One.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of potential definitely for a dragon deck. It'd be interesting to see what the dragon and knight combination deck looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best way to go for it, but still pretty cool. Not the most. I don't know. This one doesn't do anything different. Gorm and Virtus at least kind of offered us a different angle, whereas classic Boros, they're doing what they do.
Yeah.
I don't hate it though. It's fine. No. All right, next one. This is the one I think these are my favorite.
Yeah,
Cinder Split and Okun are pretty sweet as well, but I think these might be my favorite. Pir, this is Pir and Toothy. So Pir, Imaginative Rascal, is these were the first ones that were spoiled, I believe. 2 and a green for a 1/1 legendary human. He partners with Toothy. And if 1 or more counters would be put on a permanent your team controls, that many +1 of each of those kind of counters are put on that permanent instead. So it is a lot like Hardened Scales, except Hardened Scales only cares about +1/+1 counters, whereas Pir adds another one to any kind of counter.
Oh, I just realized the ramification of that on Planeswalkers.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a little bit of a Planeswalker thing there, or I don't know, poison counters, permanent your team control. So -1/-1 counters also count for you.
Well, does that not mean that Planeswalkers enter with 1 more counter on them?
I don't know, because
they enter and you put the loyalty counters on them.
But do they enter with them on? Because that's
isn't that why Doubling Season starts with them doubled?
Maybe. I know there's weirdness with Doubling Season. So when you activate into the ability of a Planeswalker and you have Doubling Season, it doesn't double what you put on it then.
But they do enter doubled.
Yeah, they do enter doubled. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a good question.
Huh.
Well, at any rate, it definitely is really cool. Poison counters on your no, it's only on permanents. Okay, so it doesn't. So fear not when it comes to infect. You won't die doubly quickly.
Yes.
Because you have your own commander out. But instead, yeah, charge counters, all those kinds of fun things will care, and Pir will add 1 more. That's fun. And the next guy, his partner,
Toothy, the imaginary friend, 3 and a blue for a legendary creature illusion. Toothy starts as a 1/1 and partners with Pir. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Toothy, and whenever Toothy leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Ooh, baby.
Right, so you have both of them out. You draw a card, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on Toothy.
Yep.
That's if you have both of them out.
Pretty good.
Yep, so that's pretty cool. Classic Simic looking abilities. I like that this can stretch out into other, like we were saying, other things like charge counters and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, this is neat. It's Pir's also kind of reminiscent of the snake in from Kaladesh there. the black-green snake.
Oh, yes. Winding Constrictor.
Winding Constrictor, right. Except it doesn't, like, Winding Constrictor will give you extra energy, whereas Pir won't give you extra energy.
Right. And Toothy acts a lot like Chasm Skulker, and on Toothy's death, you get arguably a better ability than a whole bunch of squiddies.
Yeah, and it's also not just his death. It's just when he leaves the battlefield.
Right.
So an exile effect will still get you those cards. If you bounce them, you still get the cards. Like, that's really strong.
I'm so grateful Wizards words it this way because we want to use them for Commander. And if you put a dies trigger on any Commander, it just sucks because Commanders don't want to die. So, like, it's so easy for them to just change the word die to leaves the battlefield. I know that ups the power of cards like Unsummon or other bounce spells, but, like, just let us play Commander with them.
Well, they've done exactly that, and these guys are, I think, really powerful duo, and you can build a really cool deck around these guys.
Yeah.
Great. So those are all the partners. Those are the legendary partners. However, they're not all of the legendary creatures. There's a few sort of like incidental monocolor legendary creatures and 2 multicolors as well.
Yes.
So the first of the remaining commanders, legendary creatures, is Mangara of Corondor. Is 1 white. This is a reprint. The legendary human wizard. He's a 1/1, and it says you tap and exile Mangara of Corondor, and tap, exile Mangara of Corondor, and target permanent. So
not bad.
When they when you untap with them, obviously you can't do it right when you put them in there that they don't have haste. It takes this card and another one out of the game. And if it's your commander, obviously you can recast it and sort of an interesting bit of spot removal. It's a cool card.
And notice the exiling Mangara and the target permanent are after the tap symbol. They are not part of the costs. They are the effect.
Right.
So you can put this effect on the stack by tapping and then somehow bounce or save Mangara, and you still will exile the other permanent.
That's interesting.
So if you can flicker Mangara, pretty decent.
White can flicker, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. Okay, yeah, that's a really good ability. Who else we have here? Oh, this is a new one.
Grothama, I want to say the all-devouring, but it's properly Grothama, all-devouring. 3 green for a worm. A worm.
A worm?
A worm. It's 10/8. Other creatures have, whenever this creature attacks, you may have it fight Grothama, all-devouring. Other creatures have. That includes your opponent's creatures. When Grothama leaves the battlefield, each player draws cards equal to the amount of damage dealt to Grothama this turn by sources they controlled. Whoa. So I gotta think this through. So every creature has it. So if you cast it and then you do a huge swing, all of your creatures will fight Grothama and might die in return. Like if they don't have more than 10 toughness, they're gonna die. But you will draw so many cards. Well, 1 card for each point of damage.
It's dealt to Grothama. So like if you attack with a 2/2, you'll draw 2 cards if for some reason Grothama then died. But you need to be able to kill Grothama. So like you need to be able to do 8 damage minimum, and then but then you get to draw 8 cards, which is pretty sweet.
And so your opponents are in a weird position where you're going to give them free cards, and if they attack with it kind of puts them in a position where like they'll probably attack with a medium amount of creatures, but you probably don't need to worry about a massive attack.
Well, yeah, they won't attack with their whole board because Grothama will just kill everything probably.
And they'll draw too many cards.
Right. So, so like, what's the usage of a card like this, right? Is it dissuades attacks unless your opponents have one really big, like a creature that's bigger than it. Which is,
even if they don't,
it's not impossible in Commander, that's for sure, right? Like
I could see trading in a few smaller creatures for a whole bunch of cards.
Oh, definitely, right. Of course, 2 4/4s trade in to draw you 8 cards.
Easy. That's an easy choice every day.
Now the real like beauty would be though. I think a person running Grothama probably has a couple tricks up their sleeve. I'm thinking sack outlets. I'm thinking maybe even stuff that like makes it regenerate or gives it indestructibility. Like if this thing is indestructible, your opponents just can't really attack.
So it won't die, and your opponents won't get to draw the cards.
Yeah.
Because they have to exile it, in which case it still didn't die. Oh, no, but it has
No,
to
it's just leaves. It's a leaves. So it's another leaves trigger, right?
I'm trained to think that they don't think of us commander players. I'm trained to assume it's not commander-oriented.
It's interesting that this one is leaves, because then I guess gets around flickering and stuff like that after the fact. I don't know. It's weird. But I don't know. I don't really know how to use this card. I think you'd probably want to throw this in black-green decks, because I think what you want to do is attack enough to draw the cards yourself, right? Like
I just noticed it's a May ability. All the creatures have a May fight.
You may... Oh, it is May. Oh, wow, that's way different. So
that's way worse, because your opponent can control how they want to do it.
Your opponent can just not have it fight Grothama.
Yeah. That's way worse.
It's a 5-mana 10/8, mind you. Like that's...
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful. So on turn 5, you can have a 10/8 down.
A while ago, we did a deck where we wanted to have the biggest power on the battlefield, and this really helps.
Yeah, this is. I mean, yeah, there are definitely other usages for Grothama too, like what's it called?
When you scavenge.
Yeah, thank you. You know exactly where I was going with that. Scavenge is really cool. So 5 mana will get you 10 counters. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyways, as a commander, though, I don't know, right? Like, I think I'd probably just rather have something like Galta or something if I just want a big green creature.
Yeah, I would never make this a commander, but I think I would put it in a couple of 99s, I'm sure.
Cool, let's move on. This one is an interesting one because while it is a red creature, technically its identity is 5 colors. We have Najeela, the Blade Blossom, 2 and a red. For a legendary human warrior, that's a 3/2. Whenever a warrior attacks, you may have its controller create a 1/1 white warrior creature token that's tapped and attacking. So as she attacks, she creates another one. And then she has Pay Wooburg, so all 5 colors. Untap all attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, and haste until end of turn. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase, and you activate this ability only during combat.
Untap all attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, and haste. So so they sort of have vigilance as well because you've untapped them, right? They have attacked and they're now untapped. Trample, lifelink, haste. Jeez, I mean it's weird that you're giving attacking creatures haste.
Yeah, it's so that the ones that you then untap, like the ones you make with the warriors, they will then be able to attack next turn as the next combat as well.
And then you get an initial combat phase. So, okay. So there's clearly, if you're able to make lands attack, like by putting counters on them, and you can untap them. I never thought about that. And then spend their mana to just keep it going for infinity.
That is very interesting.
Yep. There's that green sorcery from the new set that turns all your lands into creatures, and they're indestructible as well, so that you'll never lose the mana.
I can't remember which. Is it Bear Umbra that does the thing where if you hit, you untap? Yeah, so Bear Umbra is an aura that gives enchanted creature +2/+2 and has whenever this creature attacks, untap all lands you control. Like that's just infinite there.
That's infinite there.
Unless they can kill Najeela, in which case.
Yeah.
Like if they block her or something. But you need. But if you have the
but
attack
Najeela
open,
doesn't have to be attacking to activate this ability.
You're right. Yes, that's true. You can activate this only during combat, but you don't have to actually be attacking with her.
Nope.
Ooh, wow, cool.
Spicy.
So this is a very spicy commander. I think we're going to see some cool and interesting brews here. I hope they're not all just based around the infinite combo of making infinite attackers. But
I mean, that's where everyone's going to go first.
It's probably where people are going to go first, yeah. But I think this is fun. This is neat. A 5-color commander that's really red based, really attacking based. That's really cool.
Yep. And then finally, we have another reprint legendary Gwafa Hazid, Profiteer. 1 white blue for a legendary human rogue that is 2/2. And for white and a blue and a tap, put a bribery counter on target creature you don't control. Its controller draws a card. Creatures with bribery counters on them can't attack or block.
We've built a deck around this guy.
We have, yeah, about making deals with people. And like the comment I made earlier about giving people things versus asking them for things, this is an example of that, where it is tough to make spontaneous deals out of nowhere. Because how do you introduce the offer? Do you just go to someone's like, hey, do you want to draw a card? They're going to say, yes. So it's like, oh, can I do this thing? It's like, no, do it on my little token. It's like, okay, then what will you give me? It's like, nah, nothing. It's like, well, then I won't give you the offer. It's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, so now you're just like, this is pointless. But then the other offer becomes, hey, I'll put this on your big creature unless you give me something in return. You'll also get a card. And then it's like, well, now you're kind of threatening me with it. Now I don't like you. It's very difficult to negotiate the politics of this.
And you speak as a person who has this deck also,
yes,
right?
I'm trying all the time, but it's so hard to, because when you're just trying to make deals randomly, this is the problem. Nobody, at least in our meta, nobody just asks for the deal. No one's like, hey, can you give me a card by putting the counter on this thing? And then it's like, okay, let's talk. But that doesn't happen.
Yeah, because at first no one cares. People just want to do their thing. They want to get their deck rolling. It's in crunch time is when you want to do that stuff, right? That's when it matters. So when someone's ahead and threatening to kill them, it's like, yeah, man, throw a bribery counter on whatever you want. I just need to draw cards to try and get out of this. Like that's when, and then arguably is Khorvath even that good because he can only do it once, right?
And he's got summoning sickness. He can't do it on the first turn.
He has to tap, yeah. Well, I mean, I still think this card is cool, and I think there's still lots of usage for it in Commander. So I'm always happy to see it reprinted, although it's not a card that's worth money or anything. So it's not like we're rejoicing over the reprint of Khorvath.
So that's the legendaries.
Those are all the legendaries, yeah.
So those are all the ones we could use as Commander. We're going to now spend some time talking about cards that we think are kind of neat for Commander in general that could go in other decks. We're going to start with lands and colorless cards because those can go in any deck, and then we're just going to break it down by color.
This is there's a lot of good Commander stuff in here. We're going to try and go through this as quickly as we can without skimping on anything. But yeah, just so you know, here we go.
No skimps,
but we'll try and move it along.
Yeah.
Okay. The lands. I mean, this is arguably, the partners and that mechanic is really cool and really amazing, but I think this is the biggest hit of the set, right?
Yeah. Full dual lands.
We got our Commander dual lands. We got them.
So Luxury Suite is the one we're going to put on the screen here. They are the ally color pairs. They enter the battlefield tapped unless you have two or more opponents, and they tap for, in this case, black or red. So, yeah, unrestricted two-color lands.
Bountiful Promenade, Luxury Suite, Morphic Pool, Sea of Clouds, and Spire Garden are the names of them. And, this is sweet. This is exactly what we've been waiting for a pretty long time. This does not impact other formats, of course. It only matters in multiplayer games, which is great. I expect these cards to be fairly expensive.
Because these are the kind of things that people for Commander Commander players who only have a couple of decks will spend a lot of money on cards, and they'll get them on for all their decks. So, people who have like 5 or 6 decks, like, well, I'm going to need 2 Bountiful Promenades, a Luxury Suite, and a Sea of Clouds, and I'll just buy them. And yeah, these cards just go in Commander decks. They do not have the land types like the original duels do. That would truly make them ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, that would be nuts.
So I think maybe losing that might keep them affordable, quote unquote. I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I think
because it's opened in packs, right?
Yeah, I mean, it does. You're right in that it holds them back from their 100% like maximum usage. Like we can't grab these with a fetch land or something.
Yeah.
So there is that, which is real, right? Like that's one of the reasons the original dual lands are so good, and like that's one of the reasons shock lands are so good and all that. But we've got a bunch of those now, right? We've got a bunch of those cards that are both types. This is one that I don't know, man. I think this just like answers the question, like turn 1, turn 2, like when you need an untapped land and you want it to be both colors, like this is one of the only options for players who started playing, after I don't know, the year 2003 and have any sort of budget constraints. So
yeah,
I think we're going to see everyone scrambling to grab these. That's really cool though. I'm still really happy to see them. I mean, Battlebond is a set that I don't think will be opened that much, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't think so either. It's hard to
It's hard enough to get like a draft together with friends, let alone you have to get 8 together to do it if you want to draft the 2-headed giant format. And or you do sealed. Anyways, yeah.
The Dominaria is very fun to draft right now. So really if you do get 8 people together, sure, you can convince them to do a Battlebond once for the novelty, but like we're gonna want to do Dominaria, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So I don't know. Maybe it's a thing where you buy a box and try and get these cards. I don't know what.
I don't know. Never buy a box for cards.
Buy a box. I mean, what I mean is buy a box and then draft it. Like that way you have the cards so that you can kind of, really make a 2-headed giant thing happen if you want. Yeah. And then you can get the extras. You get the extra cards from it. Anyways, these are going to be great. We're going to want them. End of story. All right, let's move on to the other colorless cards that are not lands.
Sure. First up is Sentinel Tower, 4 generic for an artifact. Whenever an instant or sorcery spell is cast during your turn, Sentinel Tower deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of instants and sorcery spells you cast before that spell this turn. It's a very weird way to say that it's just like, so the first one gives you 0, the second one gives you 1, the third. So like, if you just don't count the first spell, every spell does more damage and more damage. This is interesting. Obviously, it's very good in a Storm deck because you're casting a bunch of spells. But I feel like for the decks that I have that might want this, I think I'd just rather stick with Spine of Ishsa.
Spine of Ishsa?
Am I thinking the right one? I'm thinking of...
You're thinking of Sphinx Bone Wand. I was about to say, yeah. Sphinx Bone Wand is very good. It's the one that keeps... unlike Sentinel Tower, which like only that turn does it count how many things you cast before it and deals extra damage that way. Sphinx Bone Wand it puts counters on it every time you cast them, so that way even like 3 or 4 turns later, if you manage to cast another one, it'll deal the extra damage too. So it's definitely better. But Sphinx Bone Wand costs 7. Yeah, that is a lot. Whereas Sentinel Tower only costs 4, which can mean that the next turn you can fire off a bunch of them, do a ton of damage, and then put yourself in a position to win, right? Like, plus I think with if your deck does care about Storm, I think this card is better because it costs 4 also.
Yep. The Sentinel Tower versus Sphinx Bone Wand, it's like, does your deck want to explode in one turn, or are you just doing a lot over multiple turns?
Like, I think this goes in Epic Experiment.
I mean... So here's the dilemma, right? Like any Storm deck, if you're putting a non-instant or sorcery, non-cantrippy card, you have to expect a lot from that card to reduce your like engine's efficiency. So like, is it worth it? Like, what do you have to cut a instant or sorcery? You have to take a look, obviously, at whatever your deck is doing, whatever it wants to do. But I think this is pretty powerful. With an Epic Experiment, this could be the way you win. It could be, but do you cut? But so is Aether's Flux Reservoir, right? Mm-hmm. So, and they both cost 4 to start, and one of them gains you life, and you can just, like, you're not doing damage all over the place, but you're doing 50 at once if you get up there. I don't know. Like, I mean, it's an interesting. I would want to swap them out and see which one works better in the specific cases. Yeah. Yep. Definitely worth considering for any decks that think they might care about that sort of thing, though. Cool. Next we have is Victory Chimes. It's a 3-mana artifact that says tap, and a player of your choice adds colorless. However, it also says untap Victory Chimes during each other player's untap step. So this is pretty cool, right? So it's just a generic mana rock that will untap on every other player's turn. And you can give other people the mana, too, which we really like Spectral Searchlight, which is a thing that it's just a multicolored mana rock that gives target player the mana. You obviously give it to yourself mostly, but you can, in a pinch, give it to someone else. And there's times where it matters. Like, I love it when the times come up where it's like, man, I wish I had one more mana if someone had a Spectral Searchlight. It's like, all right, I'm putting Spectral Searchlight in my decks. Right. Victory Chimes is kind of like that, but also don't forget that, like, this just provides you with mana on your opponent's turns also, which can also be very, very, very good in a deck that cares about like counter spells a lot and wanting to keep mana open for activated abilities and things like that. Victory Chimes can be great. Yeah, it's fun. I don't know if it goes in every single deck, but in decks that want to do things at instant speed, I think it's really fun. And the good thing about the victory chimes is if you're not using them as chimes, the handles are clearly cribbage boards to play cribbage with.
Little cribbage boards. They're also bells, and you probably can even drink out of it. It looks like they're little cups.
We like that versatility in a commander card.
We love that versatility. Yeah, that's a modal card, really.
Andy mentioned it, Spectral Searchlight, the original of this idea. 3 generic for an artifact. Mana rocks cost him 3 is very common. Tap, choose a player. That player adds 1 mana of any color he or she chooses to his or her mana pool. Again, being able to throw it down is wonderful for politics. The fact that Spectral Searchlight gives you all the colors, in my opinion, makes it superior to the chimes, because you're going to want to give it to yourself most often, and it is also fixing as well as ramp.
Yeah, definitely it is. Next we have Mind's Eye. This is a big reprint.
Good reprint.
Yeah, very good reprint. Spoiler alert, there's a lot of good reprints in this set. Mind's Eye is 5 mana artifact that says whenever an opponent draws a card, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. So it's like a weird reverse Rhystic Study. Definitely worse than Rhystic Study. Because it's your opponent's pay during Rhystic Study, whereas you pay for Mind's Eye. However, it is a colorless card, so this goes in decks that have trouble drawing cards, like mono white decks, Boros decks, things like that. Mind's Eye is a great card. Again, not as good as like some of the top card drawing cards in the format, but now that this is reprinted, we're going to see this drop in price a bit. Maybe it already has, actually. Yeah, the Battlebond version is apparently up for about $5, whereas before this, I think this is creeping up to be like a $15 to $20 card, depending on where you were looking. So get your Mind's Eyes, just like in Dominaria. Get your Gilded Lotuses.
Another important reprint, it was getting up to $20 or so. Mycosynth Lattice, 6 generic for an artifact. All permanents are artifacts in addition to other types. All cards that aren't in play, spells, and permanents are colorless, and players may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. Yeah, pretty good.
This is a weird card, but yeah, right? It's a powerful one.
It's the best friend of Vandal Blast.
Oh my god. Vandal Blast, if you have Mycosynth Lattice and you Vandal Blast, you destroy everyone's stuff, everything.
Except you.
Yeah, you don't destroy your own stuff because it's only opponents. Yeah, wow, that's nuts. Yeah, Mycosynth Lattice, it's a weird old card that was put in, from Darksteel, and it's such a niche thing. Like, obviously not every deck wants a Mycosynth Lattice, but if you care about artifacts, it can be really great. I've seen Mycosynth Lattice come out and turn everything into artifacts. And because Padim was out, give everything you have hexproof, including Padim, because it's now an artifact. So you give all your stuff hexproof. You're drawing cards and stuff. It just makes everything impossible to deal with. You have the indestructible thing for artifacts out too. It's like, oh, what a mess. So it's a powerful card. It's a powerful card when you build around it. So nice to see it reprinted for sure.
Good. Colors.
Yes.
Let's go to white cards. We're going Wooburg order. Again, we're not hitting all of these. We're hitting the ones we think are especially interesting for Commander. We'll start with Arena Rector. 3, hardly know her. 3 and a white for a human cleric. 1/2. When Arena Rector dies, you may exile it. If you do, search your library for a Planeswalker card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Straight put a Planeswalker on the battlefield.
Yep.
This is very strong.
Very strong. Arena Rector. Of course, harkening back to Academy Rector.
Yes.
Which is a great card, expensive card, that did the same thing, but with enchantments. Very powerful, right? So you get your Academy Rector, which is the same thing, 3 and a white for a 1/2. You get your Doubling Season, and then you get your Arena Rector, and you get your Planeswalker, and you ultimate it right away. Very, very cool card. Powerful card, of course. This is great. I think this is going to be a good Commander card. Super Friends decks are going to love it. Although I think just any deck that's running a Planeswalker wouldn't mind an Arena Rector.
I think it's fine. It puts it right into play.
Sack outlets are going to be good here too. Now there's no way to really recur it because you have to exile it to get the ability. But still, to be able to do it at your when you want to do it is important.
Yep.
Next we have Brightling, which is another kind of harkening back to an older card, which we're seeing what Etherling is from RTR, but what's the original one? The original Ling.
Morphling.
Morphling, that's the one. Morphling, had like 4 or 5 abilities. Aetherling did 2. Now we have Brightling, which is the first one that's non-blue.
Do we like these?
Yeah, well, I actually really like them in like control type decks because they're really great finishers. So Brightling is 1 white for a 3/3, and it has 4 abilities. The first 3 all cost 1 white. So 1 white, Brightling gains Vigilance. The other one is pay white, Brightling gains Lifelink. The other one is pay white, return Brightling to its owner's hand, which is, I think, arguably the best ability. And then you can also pay generic, and Brightling gets either +1, -1, or -1/+1 until end of turn. So the great thing about these cards is that when they go in decks that care about ETB effects, like whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you get to do something. So like, I was excited about this because of Afara. Afara wants creatures entering the battlefield all the time. So she saves herself from board wipes. She saves herself from basically any removal if you have mana open. So these creatures can be tough to deal with. This one though is a little bit worse because I think like Aetherling's a 5/4, which means you can crank it up to an 8/1 and make it unblockable. Yeah. Whereas Brightling can be like a 5/1
and not unblockable. So yeah, it's definitely a bit worse than the one that we're more familiar with. But I think there's decks out there that will want a Brightling. Yeah, perhaps
it's a little narrow. I think narrower than the other ones, but still, it's not nothing. Anyways,
moving on. Next up in white is Core Spirit Dancer reprint. 1 and a white as Core Spirit Dancer gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. I should say it's a core wizard that starts as a 0/2, so +2/+2 for each aura. Whenever you cast an aura spell, you may draw a card. This is another reprint that was getting pretty pricey. This was like getting close to $10. Because like auras, that's the problem with auras, right? If you play an aura and the creature gets removed, you've lost card advantage. But at least having Core Spirit Dancer means you get to get that card back, for future removal.
Yeah, just a great card in a lot of Voltron decks and any of those Daxos,
it's a great backup cards. In an aura deck. It's a shame when a backup card's like $10, so it's nice that this is going to come down.
Exactly. Next we have Land Tax. This is a really old reprint. I'll bring up the new art for it.
Very cool new art.
Yeah. Land Tax is a single white for an enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, reveal them, put them in your hand, shuffle your library. Powerful effect. This happens at the beginning of every upkeep that you have. So that's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not ramp. It's like more like tutoring, like card draw. But obviously this will make you hit your land drops consistently, which is basically just as good when it comes to the late game. So
I've tested like Boros decks with this in there. It's a very strong card because other players are usually ahead of you on lands because they're actually ramping. And you're basically drawing 3 basics a turn. You probably have to discard a couple of them because it won't take long before you have too many cards in your hand, in theory. But once you've cycled through, you're playing a basic every turn, so you're keeping up with people for the most part, and you're thinning out your deck and you're drawing a lot of cards. So that means once you get your 8 or 9 mana going, you're only drawing gas for the most part. So I do think this is an astounding card in a Boros deck.
Yeah, Land Tax is one of the all-time more powerful white cards, I would say. This shows up in powered cubes and is a great pick. So yeah, this is a strong card, getting a big reprint here. It looks like it's going to be expensive. Looks like it's about $20 already. So it's a mythic rare from the set.
A lot better than its other,
Oh my god, like the $100 version? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And you're right. The new art's really cool. So yeah, if you're running a deck that wants a Land Tax, now's your opportunity to grab them.
Wicked. We talked about play of the game. That's the assist card that exiles on non-permanents. Very interesting that this is. To discover that this doesn't happen on any other card is very interesting to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. We did already talk about this one a bunch, though. I forgot I even put it here. We're getting a reprint of Swords to Plowshares, which is always great. The 1 mana instant for white that says exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Just one of the best removal spells in the whole format. So gotta have it.
Reprinting it.
Yep, please, and thank you.
And then finally in white, Together Forever. White enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, support 2, which means you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. You do not get to put them both on one creature. So it has an activated ability of just 1 generic. Choose target creature with a counter on it. When that creature dies this turn, return that card to its owner's hand. I mean, you pair this with black, and you have the potential to do some really dirty shenanigans. Put it in like a Bant thing with some Simic backup. You're going to get creatures back too. I mean, we've already seen like Toothy, and like there's just so many. And the fact that support exists, right? Like this will support 2 creatures, so you're going to get 2 targets that you'll get to return to your hand no matter what, even if you don't run a +1/+1 counter deck.
Yeah, I think this is really cool. There's also lots of synergy with undying creatures.
Oh goodness!
Right, so like you can pick them, and then you can sack them, and then they die, and then they come back with a counter, and then you sack them, they go to your hand. It's like, wow, you're getting a lot of value off of that, and yeah. So I think there's just a lot of potential for this card in a lot of different decks, right? So I think this is a neat one to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Now let's move to blue.
Blue.
We got this one here. So this one's interesting. Oh wait, no, let's read this one first. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. Arcane Artisan. It's 2 and a blue for a human wizard. This one's mythic. It's an 0/3. It says pay 2 and a blue and tap Arcane Artisan. Target player draws a card, then exiles a card from their hand. If a creature card is exiled this way, that player creates a token that's a copy of that card. When Arcane Artisan leaves the battlefield, exile all tokens created with it at the beginning of the next end step. So you loot with her. You pay 2 and a blue to loot, except that it's not discard, it's exile. And if you exile a creature card with it, you just get that creature. You get a copy of it on the battlefield, and but then the downside is, of course, if she leaves, you lose all the tokens. But you lose them at the beginning of the next end step. So like, if there's for some reason there's something you can do with them, or there's an activated ability on one of those creatures or something after combat or something, and they removed it in mid combat, you could still use it, I guess.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think this card's really neat though. Like I think this is exiling stuff is not something we'd like to do in Commander. We'd like to keep it around so we can abuse it, bring it back from the graveyard, bounce it, things like that. So I think that mitigates the power level a little bit, and that mitigates like the want for this card. But much like when we did what's his name? It's not Secuar. What's the Grixis Unearth lord? Cedrus, the Traitor King, right?
Yeah.
That card is great because it gives I think it gives all creatures in your graveyard Unearth, right? For their mana cost.
Right.
And we don't see Unearth a lot in Commander because it exiles the creature and gives it one more turn back, which is definitely better in limited and constructed, and not as great in Commander because we like to reuse them. But when you use that ability and when you build a deck around that, knowing that you're going to be exiling those cards, it's very powerful. It can be used to be very, very good. So I think if you build a deck where you're going to be exiling stuff, and so you're not worried about the graveyard in that way, you're just looking to get the value off of the cards as they come in and as you play them, Arcane Artisan can be really powerful.
And I also just want to you must deal with this card right away, because if I resolve an Arcane Artisan and it goes, let's say now I put my Swiftfoot boots on it, so now you can't target it. It's well, what are you going to do? Because when it gets to my player on my right, when it gets to their end step, I'm going to loot, and I'm just going to drop in the biggest, baddest thing that I have. Maybe one of my Eldrazi's. Maybe I'll miss the cast trigger. Who cares? Because now I'll untap with it. It's effectively got haste in a sense. Yeah. So you have no time to deal with it, and then I'm going to start attacking with it. So even if you don't care about graveyards, but you just care about gigantic, scary stuff, very strong card.
Very, very strong card, yeah. And don't forget, you're drawing a card and then choosing to exile something, so then you create the creature. It's not like you're just losing a card from your hand and making the creature that way. You still get to draw a card, so you're it's getting replaced.
Yeah, all those incidental moments where you're well, I don't really care about this creature, so I'm going to loot it away. I guess I'll get a token of it. Who cares?
Yeah, and you draw the card first, so he's you don't even have to. It's oh, I don't want to actually lose him. Okay, no problem. Guess what? I'll exile something else.
Yeah.
Anyways, very strong. Next stuff here.
We got a couple of partner withs, so these are not legendary, but we have Chakram Retriever, 4 and a blue, for an elemental hound that is 2/4. whenever you cast a spell during your turn, untap target creature. The flavor is you're going to untap its partner with, which is Chakram Slinger, 4 and a red, partner with the Retriever. Red, tap, Chakram Slinger deals 2 damage to target player or planeswalker, right? And then you cast a spell, and then you the Retriever lets you untap the Slinger, and you do it again, and then you cast a spell. That's the idea.
Yeah, this is a powerful little combination here. Chakram Slinger and her dog, Chakram Retriever. It's like, it kind of feels like they should be legendary, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of feels like this lady with her cool Chakram and then like her wicked elemental dog, they should have names.
Yeah.
But I guess they wanted to make the Planeswalkers and they wanted to make them Izzet.
Too many Izzet legendaries.
Seriously though, these should have been legendary, I feel like. And their abilities are really fun and not really like Chakram Retriever I think can be very powerful because untapping things can lead to infinite combos basically, right?
Right, and it's whenever you cast a spell. You untap target creature. So, like, any creature that makes mana, you're going to use that creature to help cast a spell, and then you're going to untap it, maybe, to get more. Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. And the Slinger is more of the limited side of the card, where you pay red and tap her, and she deals damage. But you know, still not nothing. I think it's, something worth talking about. You could probably include this in a couple of, some pinger type decks, maybe. Could be pretty good. Okay.
What's
next? So that was a blue and a red card because they partner. But the next one is we're back to just being blue here with Fumble. Interesting little instant. It's a 1 and a blue for an instant that says return target creature to its owner's hand, gain control of all auras and equipment that were attached to it, then attach them to another creature. Cool.
Wow.
This is a very unique ability.
Right. So we've seen what's that blue spell that lets you steal an equipment and make a germ?
Phyresis.
Phyresis, right?
Phyresis,
so we can steal. So this is a way to steal a full suite of things on a creature. None of them can give it hexproof though, because you have to be able to target the creature. So it won't work on your Swiftfoot Bootses or your Lightning Greaves or your cloaks. But man, there's some powerful auras out there, right? Like a lot of people run all the swords of X and Y, so like have all of them. They're yours.
I think this is worth running in your meta if you have a couple of Voltron decks running around, right? Like,
yep.
Because even though it doesn't deal with it if it's wearing a boots or something like that or a greaves or whatever. But if you have your other spell that's like, okay, destroy target artifact, so you get rid of their greaves and then fumble them, maybe even mid attack, so their commander's coming at you or whatever is coming at you, you bounce them, grab all their stuff, and maybe and then like mid combat you can block something else or something like. Well, you know, now all of a sudden one of your creatures is huge. That's wild.
And I do think, you know, when we consider you one of your favorite colorless lands, so you can take away hexproof on your opponent's side and then fumble all their good stuff. It's just like, well,
Arcane Lighthouse and fumble are best friends.
Yeah, best friends forever.
And I just thought of this. I was wrong about, like, I even still don't even understand the full power of this card. So you bounce the creature, you gain control of all auras and equipment, and you don't have to attach the equipment. Like, you don't have to pay for the equip costs.
No.
It attaches them too.
Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So, I mean, obviously it is pretty niche. Like, this isn't good against every deck. This is really meant to come up against Voltron decks. But
if you run Arcane Lighthouse, do you just stick a fumble in? Because you're going to be able, like, there's always something to get.
Yeah, you can probably. I mean, but now you need the Lighthouse and fumble to get someone's greaves or boots
to get the greaves. And now we're covered in the event that there happens to be a Voltron player in at the table.
Right.
Is that worth the occasional super upside for the small upside?
I do think that there is some value to, like, instant speed bouncing things once in a while in Commander. Obviously, it's not like super strong. It's not just straight removal. We'd rather something that just removes a creature. But if you care at all about bouncing things, maybe there's some added bonus there. I'm not running this in every deck, but I'm considering it depending on my meta for sure.
Interesting.
I think it can be very powerful.
All right, what's next? We got game plan.
Yeah.
5 and a blue for a sorcery with assist. So here's another assist card. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. Exile game plan. So you think you can get an opponent to pay a little bit to help you do this?
You might be able to, but I think this is one of the few where paying 6 for the draw 7 effect and the wheel effect, I think you can make use of this in a deck, right? So like,
yeah,
I think Nekisar would just run this. No problem, right? It's Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Costs 6, obviously, which is like more than Wheel of Fortune, but like that's a hard effect to get for cheap these days. So I actually think game plan is fine on its own. And there will be times where once in a while someone else is like, yeah, okay, I'll help you pay. I'll pay 1 to help you with that.
No way, I won't.
Well, I mean, I'm saying if they really want to do it and you can't, it's like, oh man, I've only got 5 mana, and we can't wheel if someone else wants to pay 1. It's like, okay, because that's a similar, like that helps me more than it helps you, right?
If it would tap you out, I'll pay the 1, but I'm not going to let you keep anything up and then refill your hand.
Yeah, of course. But like, because this is a symmetrical effect and actually helps all the other players before it helps you.
Yeah.
If you're tapping out with it, obviously. It's I think this is one of the rare assist cards where you actually might be able to get someone to help you. Well, there is another one coming up that I think is also one that you might get people to help you with. So game plan's okay. A draw 7 effect is a powerful effect in Magic, but a little bit less in Commander.
If you want it, you want it.
Yeah, exactly. Next, we have Mystic Confluence as a reprint.
Great
Commander
reprint.
Set. Yep. 3 and 2 blue for an instant that says you choose 3 of these, and you may choose the same mode more than once. The first one is counter target spell unless its controller pays 3 generic. The next is return target creature to its owner's hand. And the next one is draw a card. So oftentimes you can work it so that this card is counter target spell, draw 2 cards, which is pretty strong.
Pretty strong.
But again, it's modal, right? So if bouncing a creature keeps it off of some great equipment or aura, that's really great. If the thing's going to kill you because it's attacking you, you bounce it. You can even, if a guy's got 1,000,000 mana up and he's casting something that's going to win him the game, you can simply say counter target spell unless his controller pays 9, which is difficult to do.
Yeah.
So there's the modalness of this card makes it great.
And because it was only ever made in a Commander set, it was in very limited supply, so it's a much needed reprint to bring the price down.
I mean, it's still, even the Battlebond version is still $8 according to
pre-selling for that. I think it'll come down.
Yeah, that's true. These are pre-sales. Whenever we mention a price at this point, it will be pre-sales. So you're right. Most of these prices will probably come down.
We got another assist here. It's Out of Bounds, 3 and a blue. Assist for up to 3 generic, so you could pay as low as 1 blue if someone else kicks in 3. Counter target spell. Mm-hmm. Here's one where I think you could get away with it. Again, only if you would tap out otherwise. I think you can convince me. I was like, listen, I only have 1 blue up.
Exactly.
And I want to counter this, so if you want to pay the extra 3, you can do it. But like, wow, like that has to help both of you. Like, you have to really...
Well, yeah, this is the thing. It's like, it's not as good as a normal counter spell because you are not... But like, you could simply hold up 4 mana for a counter spell in Commander is a lot, but it's not outside of the realm. Like, you know what I mean? It's not totally unreasonable. We just talked about a Mystic Confluence being a counter spell that costs 5. Mind you, it gives you other possibilities, but this one is like, okay, you leave 3 up for something, you then have to negate something, and now you only have 2. Or 1 rather, to counter a spell with, and you're like, guys, if we don't counter this, he wins the game, and then one of your opponents can go, okay, I left mana up for this thing, but instead I'll help you. Because if you think about it, it's actually kind of good. If your opponent was going to counter something, they pay 3, even if they pay the full 3, they don't lose a card from it. So they get to do their thing, they get to counter the spell, but they don't have to pay their counterspell for it. So there is more of an upside here than I think any of the other assist spells. And because it's instant speed, you as the player who has the card can make a case that you only left up X amount of mana, 3 or 4 or 2 mana or something like that to do this other thing. But now it looks like Out of Bounds is the thing you actually want to do. So I think you can make a decent enough argument that people would be willing to help you out to counter a spell this way.
Do you know the rules of how this works when you're casting them?
I certainly do not.
Because, like, what if I only have 1 blue up? Do I tap my blue, show out of bounds, and say, hey, can you pay 3 for this? And if they decide to say no, you untap that, you just put it back in your hand.
That is true. That's exactly how it works. Although I think you announce the spell first. And I think technically the way Magic works is if you tap your mana first, you're adding it to your pool, then you announce a spell, and then you pay for it.
Oh, okay.
So without tapping it first to add it in, you just announce the spell, and then you pay for it, right? Oh, a kitty behind me. That's unexpected. Hello. Out of bounds. Yeah, so you announce the spell, and then you pay the cost for it, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, if you pay, say, like I've only got one, and Sean said he would pay for it, and then you were like, no, I'm not going to pay for it. Like, I'm not going to add any mana for it. Then it does just return to my hand. It doesn't fizzle or anything.
What if you have 4 untapped lands, but you want to assist only? Can I announce the spell and then say, like, but if no one pays, can I change my mind? Or do I have to commit to it?
That is a good question. I would imagine that you don't have to pay the mana, but you can just announce the spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see. This is the only time in Magic where that would ever come up, right? With these assist spells.
Very interesting. I don't know how I would play it. Still, I don't think I would ever assist unless my opponent would tap out.
Like, yeah, exactly. And so these, again, it comes back to the fact that these assist spells need to be able to be cast on their own and still be okay.
Yeah.
And I really do think that the only 2 that is Out of Bounds and was it Game Plan?
Okay.
Yeah, and even then, they're not great. They're just they're just okay.
All right, let's move on. Mm-hmm. What's next?
Next is Saltwater Stalwart, 3 and a blue for a 2/4 Merfolk warrior that says whenever he deals damage to an opponent, you draw a card. But it's not you draw a card, it's target player draws a card. So it's just a little bit different than our classic, when it hits, you draw a card. So you can actually draw someone else a card if ever that becomes relevant. You probably won't ever do it, but just important to note that this target thing is back.
Good.
Yep. Next.
Next, it's a reprint, big one, Sower of Temptation. 2 blue flying for a 2/2. When Sower of Temptation comes into play, gain control of target creature as long as Sower of Temptation remains in play. This was getting pricey. This was up to close to $10. It's a fairy wizard. Yeah. It forces, so, how's your meta go for spot removal, right? Like, a lot of us run Wraths, in which case, great, Sower's going to die anyway, but so is the creature you stole with it. But in the case of, if your meta runs a ton of spot removal, it's probably pretty easy to kill this thing and get your thing back. So maybe you don't want to run it in that meta.
Yeah, I think in general, Sower is much better when it comes to like other formats, right? It's a lot better. Yeah. It's a great cube card. It's a
fantastic.
I'm sure it gets run in Fairies modern decks or whatever. I don't know. I don't really know. But it is, it's still worth noting. I think some commander decks still like to run it. So, anytime you can steal something, it's pretty good. And yeah, this one was more so that it was getting expensive, and now it's dropped in price a bit.
I love when they do that.
Yeah, and this one's cool. Spellseeker, 2 and a blue. This is a new one. For a 1/1 human wizard. When Spellseeker enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an instant or sorcery card with a converted mana cost 2 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. I love this card. This is going directly in my Afara deck. It's an ETB effect. It gets me counter spells. It gets me other neat little things. This can even get you a rampant growth or something like this.
Yep.
2 or less doesn't sound like much, but there's a lot of good instants or sorceries that cost 2 or less.
And if you have a Vedalken Ori and a way to give this creature flash, you can get the counter spell for the thing right now.
Yep, absolutely you can. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great counter spells at 2, right? Obviously, just regular counter spell is 2 or less.
Yeah.
Negate is a really good one in Commander. Arcane Denial is strong. Like, there's a lot of good stuff. Swan Song costs 1.
Yeah.
And and if you're running Mystic Tutors, Spellseeker can find you a Mystic Tutor, which then gets you anything. So there's also that. Great.
A huge reprint. True Name Nemesis. 1 blue, Merfolk Road 3/1. As True Name Nemesis enters the battlefield, choose a player. True Name Nemesis is protection from the chosen player. And what that means, if you're not playing like these other, like modern or all those other formats, it means that player can't do anything to this creature. Can't block it, can't target it, can't do damage to it.
can't be enchanted by anything. Yeah. So it just makes it very tough to deal with. Not as good in Commander, obviously, because it's not just a 1v1 format, but still pretty powerful. Have you ever played against a True Name Nemesis in Commander?
Not in multiplayer Commander, just in 1v1.
I played against, I remember when, I think it was Scott, when Scott first got his, Scott Yamamura.
Oh, yeah.
When he first got his Mind, whatever that deck was, the Jaleva deck, I remember him basically just running it straight out of the box. And I remember him getting a True Name Nemesis out and me going, hey, you should sell that card. It's worth like, a bunch of money. And he's like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, I will for sure. But then playing against it, he named, I can't remember who he named, but it's like, oh, like, that player is going to die to this.
Yeah, right.
That player can't do anything about this one card. So
yeah,
it's a force to be reckoned with. Not as good in Commander, and I think probably the Commander players who get this are probably just going to sell it because it isn't actually that good. More just a mention because it was originally in a Commander product and is a big reprint.
Give us those Commander exclusive reprints.
Yeah, man. Finally, in blue, we have Zinder Split's Judgment, 4 and a blue for a sorcery that says for each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend creates a token that's a copy of a creature they control, and each foe returns a creature they control to its owner's hand. This is the first friend or foe one we've talked about because we already mentioned Regna's, Sanction.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these are pretty good. I think there's only one that I didn't. The only one I didn't talk about is maybe it's the green one. Anyways, the blue one. This is the blue one. Creating copies of things and then bouncing creatures for 5. That's not bad. Think of Supplant Form. Mind you, Supplant Form is an instant, but that only bounces one creature and you get to copy it. Whereas Zinder Split's Judgment creates anything you control and you bounce one of each things that your opponents control. I think this is going to be worth it in decks that want to do stuff like that. I think I would definitely be looking to put this in my my Helm of the Host Rubinia Soulsinger deck, which, by the way, listener Eric has been playing, and he says it is a ton of fun.
Oh my god, no doubt. Yeah. I still have yet to resolve and equip a Helm of the Host. I've resolved one, but I've not gotten to equip one and use it. It never happened.
So yeah, this card's neat. Not super overpowered or anything, but worth it in some decks.
I should note, just in case, because I thought this too, your opponents choose what they return to their owner's hand.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I didn't even... Good catch on that.
So that could help them a lot if they have a lot of ETB
That's true.
creatures.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? That actually brings us down quite a bit then. They could just bounce a token. Who cares?
Or a great ETB creature, like a Muldrifter.
Yeah. You know what? I take it back. I don't think this card's that good anymore.
Okay.
For real. Okay. Let's go to black.
Okay, black. Starting off, we've got Archfiend of Despair. 6 black for a demon, flying 6/6. 8 mana is a lot, but it says your opponents can't gain life. I'm listening. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. What? And they remind us that damage causes loss of life. So at the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses that much life. So anything that does damage effectively does double damage, just with a little bit of a delay on it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Powerful card. This is like kind of a reprint of that enchantment. I can't remember the name of it, but it's on a creature now. It's the one that partners up with. Or maybe, is it an enchantment? Maybe it is a creature. The one that, what's that red Hedetsugu, Heartless Hedetsugu? There's that one. So Heartless Hedetsugu hits you for half your life. And if you have an Archfiend of Despair or this other thing out that happened before, I can't remember what it is. Right. You kill the player, right?
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Definitely worth mentioning. Next. Oh, what happened there? Oh, okay. There we go. I just skipped a tab. Diabolic Intent. This is a big reprint for other formats as well as Commander.
Yeah.
1 and a black for a sorcery that says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, sack a creature, and then search your library for a card and put that card in your hand, and shuffle your library. So it's a Diabolic Tutor with the added cost that you need to sacrifice a creature, which obviously in black is not really ever a problem. The only time this is a problem is if it's like after a board wipe and you want to go get something. You have to commit a creature to the board first. So it's definitely not as good. There definitely is that is an extra cost to it. But most times you're going to be able to sack something small or something you actually want to sacrifice to go get anything you want. It's a great card. I think this is played in like Legacy and stuff. So
very interesting.
It was a really expensive card before, I think, right? It was like $50.
Tutor that's effectively 2
it's like
mana.
$20. Yes, exactly, right? So will I be running out to grab this as like a 10 or, between $5 and $10 card? I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm not
I don't love tutors. Period.
Yeah,
so
I don't need tutors. I'm okay without tutors. I don't run a lot of combo-based decks that need 3 specific cards to win. That is not the kind of commander that I play generally. Yeah. If I have combo-y decks, I have tons of redundancy in it, and I just eventually hope to just draw a ton of cards and draw what I need. Let fate kind of decide.
Yeah, as a combo, like I have a bunch of combo decks, kind of. Specifically, the one I'm thinking of is the Brea Hellkite Tyrant one, and I just put in as much card draw as I can in there.
Yeah,
card draw is a more fun way to tutor because it randomizes things and it makes your games have more variance to them.
Well, and I would argue that your combo for that deck is not these 3 cards are the combo, right?
No,
you have a lot of angles to go.
It's like 20 artifacts and a dragon. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a good card. So if you're looking to maybe get one of these, now's the time.
Great. Okay. I'll take the next one. It's Nirkana Revenant, another reprint, a good one. Was getting pricey. 4 black for a 4/4 Vampire Shade. Whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add black to your mana pool. It has to be called a swamp. And we know this works amazing with Urborg, right? Because everything now counts as a swamp. Black Nirkana Revenant gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Woof.
Yeah, woof. One of the more this has got to be some of the raciest Magic art.
Oh my goodness!
Ever. This is basically just a nude woman.
Whoa.
It's definitely sassy.
Yeah, it's a sassy card.
It's a sassy card, man. I'm kind of surprised that they reprinted this with the same art, to be honest with you.
Did they? Yes, they did. Same art.
Sure did. Look at this sassy art here, Sarah.
Oh, sassy. Oh, wow.
Right?
Look at that stomach.
Yeah, right? I mean, that
really
goes...
arched.
Yeah, really arched.
What do you think,
Leia thinks... Wow, way, sassy. Yeah, yeah. So this is...
Sorry, I heard your...
Yeah, Sarah had to come. She hears something sussy. She got to have a look.
Gotta have a look.
Gotta have a quick peek. So this is a card.
I'm a pervert.
I remember. Yeah, Sarah's a pervert.
She's a healthy human being.
Yeah. Nirkana Revenant is. I remember when I was building my vampire deck ages ago, being like, "Wow, this card's so expensive." So I'm really happy to see this come down. But this is really good for mono black players too. This will go right in, right alongside of a Cryptghast as your mana as one of your mana doublers. So that's really
great.
Cool. Very happy to see that one reprinted. Next we have this is a very spicy card.
I'm very excited about this card.
Stunning Reversal.
I'm very excited about this card.
Yeah, I knew you were going to be. Yep. Stunning Reversal is 3 and a black for an instant. It's mythic in the set, and it says the next time you would lose the game this turn, instead draw 7 cards and your life total becomes 1, and you exile Stunning Reversal.
What?
So you do not lose the game.
No.
If it's something that you like. It has to be something you can respond to, right? You can't take the damage, lose the game, and then cast this. You have.
No, but it says the next time you would lose the game.
I'm just clarifying that you can't lose the game is not something that goes on the stack. You know what I mean? You can't respond to that. You can certainly, of course, respond or cast this I don't know, at the beginning of your turn or something even.
Yeah. So someone's attacking you, right? And so someone's attacking with a huge board of creatures, and you're like, okay, you're going to take about 1,000 damage. It's like, okay, I'll cast this, so I will take all of that damage. I would lose the game, but instead I'll draw 7, go to one point. As long as you don't have a pinger in your hand, I'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
This does not work for Infect because you still have 10 poison counters on you, so it resets your life total 1, but doesn't take those poison counters away, so you'll die as soon as state-based actions are checked again.
Right. When would is that just at the end of any phase or when is that?
I'm not 100% clear. All the people who are actually our judges always cringe when we guess how rules work.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
I think
are there any judges that even listen to our show? I wonder.
Well, I mean, there are people who listen to our show who have passed the judge test. And,
okay, if you are a judge of the show, please make yourself known to us so that we can know how many judges listen to the show, so we know how embarrassed to be when we talk about rules.
So so tell me how close I am. I think state-based actions are checked anytime priority is passed, or anytime an effect resolves.
Right, which is when also priority would be passed. So it's kind of the same.
But can't you keep priority? Like, so I just
you can't
get around it by
sure,
keeping priority
forever. I keep priority forever and never lose.
Well, no, but I guess once an effect resolves, though, you can keep priority once you put something on the stack, so that you get to put the next thing on the stack. But I don't think anything will resolve.
So if you had some way to instant speed, say, bring in like Solemnity. No, that doesn't even do it. That doesn't remove all counters. There's definitely ways to remove counters, but anyways, whatever. We're talking about niche corners stuff that we don't need to talk about. Starting Reversal is a really cool card. I guess
it also doesn't stop you from decking yourself, because you would lose from decking, and then you try to draw 7 cards, so you lose again from decking.
Yeah, there's that too. I mean,
so it's just damage.
This just saves you from damage. It saves you from a big attack, which is something, right? What about commander damage? You took 21 commander damage. Is that?
You would still have 21 commander damage marked on you, so I think you would still lose.
You'd still lose, right? Okay, well, yeah. I mean, whatever. I think those are the more corner cases, obviously. Most of the time, this will work the way you want it to. This will give you
excited about it?
A second chance, yeah. You know what I think this might go in is something where you can gain some life. So someone is going to kill you with damage. You Stunning Reversal, and then on your turn, you have a bunch of ways to gain some life back, so that you're really back in the game. Like, that might be good. Combo decks where it's like, I just need to survive one more turn. Oh, you're attacking me with everything, and I have to like block with my whole board and ruin my combo. It's like, no, I'll just Stunning Reversal, and then when it comes back around, I can actually win.
Gain 7 cards.
Yeah, draw 7 cards is great.
Oh, I guess this also doesn't help from a big peripheral kill, because the one trigger that kills you, there's probably another trigger behind it. So you're going to okay, there's a lot of ways this card doesn't work, but it's very sexy anyway.
But it's cool. We got one more here in black.
Ooh, Virtue's Maneuver.
I think it's just Virtus.
Vertices Maneuver.
Vertices.
2 and a black for a sorcery. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend returns a creature card from their graveyard to their hand. Each foe sacrifices a creature they control. Pretty simple, pretty clean. That's great. I return a card to my hand. You all sack a creature. That's a great card in Commander.
Yeah, really strong. The sack abilities aren't so powerful or anything like that, but when you make everyone do it once, I think you're going to get something good, probably, right?
Yep.
Let me make sure did I include this card? I don't think I did.
Why don't I read the first? Is it a black card you want to talk about?
No, never mind. We'll get to it. I'll bring it up when it
okay.
comes. Let's move on to red here. Red, there's not a lot of red here, honestly. There's not a lot of great stuff for red, but the 1 or 2 cards we do have here are pretty spicy. First one being bonus round. 1 red for a sorcery that says, until end of turn, whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, that player copies it and may choose new targets for the copy. Until end of turn. So all your spells, all your instant and sorcery spells for the rest of the turn will be copied. This goes in an epic experiment, right? Like, I will just take out a Reverberate and put in a bonus round, and I think that's worth it.
Whenever you cast, so you have to cast it. So Epic Experiment does let you cast spells.
Yeah, wow. And that just gets your storm count. No, actually, it doesn't affect your storm count because it just copies. But it gets those effects doubled up, which is really great. Right. So this is just a powerhouse of a card. Although it does affect other players too. So if your other players, if they can double up any instance that they want to do as well, like an instant speed removal or something like that. So that might work against you. I don't know. But
their counter spells work on the copies.
Yeah, exactly.
So they get 2 counter spells that they'll just target the first one and the copy.
Yeah, that's true. That's good to know. I think the downside is pretty minimal, though. I do think you're going to be able to maneuver this card so that it's just basically probably game winning.
Yep.
If you have the right stuff going on. So very exciting card there.
Ooh, next up is Khorvath's Fury, 4 and a red for a sorcery. For each player, choose friend or foe. Here we go. Each friend discards all the cards from the hand, then draws that many +1. So it's wheel +1. Is that the first time we've ever seen that? We've seen wheel -1.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing it. It's actually one of the reasons why I included it.
Okay, so we're gonna discard our hand and draw that many +1. So it kind of replaces itself.
Yeah, it's breaks it even if you cast it. So that's good.
And then Khorvath's Fury deals damage to each foe equal to the number of cards in their hand.
So it's a wheel effect, with a little bit of upside. So I think it's gonna, again, the decks that care about wheel effects, your Niv Mizzets, your Nekisars, they're gonna want this card. I think Nekisar's really gonna want this card.
Nekisar wants this card real bad.
Oh yeah, he's gonna love that. And finally in red, there's only 3 really big ones in red, unfortunately. I mean, that's kind of how it works. Red's more geared towards the 1v1 and like kind of limited and constructed 20 life side of things, whereas Commander doesn't really pan out sometimes. But these cards are really cool. This one's Stolen Strategy. I think, Sean, you're going to like this one quite a bit. Ooh. 4 and a red for an enchantment that says, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until end of turn, you may cast non-land cards from among these exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, right? So this is a similar to like an Atali effect, except that you do have to pay for the mana costs. But like, this is a great way to grab a ramp spell from someone, or a mana rock or something, and it's until the end of your turn you may cast it. So like, you might be like, oh crap, I flipped a counter spell, I can't use that. But like, then if someone tries to counter something you're doing later in the turn, you can actually respond with that counter spell you exiled at the beginning of the turn there. So there, the possibilities are there. I think this is going to be actually a pretty cool card in Commander.
Agreed.
Every turn, it's essentially draws you 3 or whatever more cards, right? 2 or 3, 4 cards.
You don't get to choose what you do with it, but again, sometimes red decks have a hard time drawing extra cards, so we have access to bonus cards. We don't have to use them if we don't want to, but we could sneak other ramp or other draw from other decks.
Exactly. And that's where I think that's going to be the biggest upside for this card, is grabbing a card draw spell off of a blue player, or grabbing a ramp spell off of a green player or something.
Totally.
It is not play, so you cannot play lands that you flip. It's only
Correct.
Spells. It's cast.
Yes, it even says non-land spells.
Oh yeah, great on. Okay.
So we're moving on to green. This is a very important reprint. Beast Within, 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. If you watch our upcoming series, Battle of the Brews, whenever any one of us casts a Beast Within, we have a custom 3/3 beast token that looks a little bit like Andy in the bear suit.
That's right. Which is from our series, our Brews New series, where I play a bear.
Yeah.
Beast Within, just a very great utility spell, deals with planeswalkers, deals with everything. Very strong. Next, we have a new card, Bramble Sovereign, 2 and 2 green for a 4/4 Dryad. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a green. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. So selfishly, obviously, when you play creatures, you can make a copy of them as they come in. It's kind of like a little, like half of a Riku ability here, right?
Yeah.
So if you have stuff come in under your control, you can pay the 1 and a green and give yourself another one, which is great.
Yeah.
This is just automatically going right into a Tristani deck, I would say.
Yeah.
Anything that cares about populating tokens and stuff. And, however, it has this weird, like, again, random upside of like, hey, once in a while, you as the rest of the board will be playing a game of Archenemy and giving one of your opponents an extra creature that they cast to deal with something that player has is going to be worth it. So you might even do that once in a while.
Yeah.
I love it. I just love the possibility of that, right? Like
having the possibility doesn't hurt anybody. Maybe 99% of the time you never help a friend with it. You always are selfish with it, which is what we would expect. But the fact that it's possible just opens up political bargaining, which only makes the game better.
Exactly. So I love this card. I think this card is going to be a very strong commander card.
Ooh, next up, huge reprint.
Oh, huge reprint. Let me get the art up here. There it is.
Season, 4 and a green for an enchantment. We know Doubling Season. It's like the most expensive, like, staple card that every so many decks just want it. It's so expensive. It doubles planeswalkers when you cast them. You get double tokens.
Well,
it
doubles their loyalty counters. But yes.
Doubles their loyalty counters, right? Yeah. So like, doubling season. If an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many. If an effect would put one or more counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many counters on that permanent instead.
Yeah, and this is purely a commander card. This card is not being run in any other thing, in any other format. The price of this card is purely from EDH. And the only thing, I mean, I'm not complaining about a doubling season reprint. I think it's good to reprint cards like this, obviously. Help bring that price down as much as we can. I just wish it wasn't Mythic. Because I do, while I think it would be maybe a little too powerful in the limited portion of the game, because they did rely heavily on counters in this set, it looks like. Like, it looks like +1/+1 synergies exist across, I think, all the colors.
Because of support.
Yeah, exactly, because of support. And so it's in white, black, it's in green and blue, and I'm pretty sure there's got to be some stuff in red that does it. So I think I understand that it would be too powerful from a limited standpoint, but, like, come on, man. Like, this is Battlebond. This isn't Dominaria. This isn't one of your main sets. Like, put doubling season at rare. Make it so that this card is now $20 even instead of $40, which is what the pre-sale is going for right now, the Battlebond version.
Yeah.
That being said, though, this is what we get. This is doubling season's a Mythic, and every set it comes out in. No one's going to really open Battlebond, so it's still going to be pretty rare. But this is a little price dip that if you wanted that doubling season, go to your LGS, trade in some of the other rares that you want, like some of those draft rares you have, pick up your $40, $30 doubling season. That's what I did. That's how I have one. Yeah. I traded it in when it was about $30 and, got some store credit and grabbed it then. And you know what? Honestly, I don't regret that. I don't regret that decision. It's amazing in the deck it's in. And I'm happy because now it costs $60. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and I think it'll go down to, right, this is the classic, right, Wizards, when they have to do these, like, side things that, it's not going to get drafted to the nuts, but they have to put these cards in so that people want to buy a bunch of the boxes. But
for sure.
I think it was the professor who made this comment, but, like, we're getting some legit reprints for packs that are not $10 a piece. Like, yes. These packs are normal price.
Yeah.
So, like,
that's true.
Yeah, right? Like, give us good, like, so, and this is just going to make it interesting for whatever Masters set they does next, because it's like, hey, man, doubling season doesn't have to be in a $10 pack.
I believe it was Jason Alt that said, like, how is it that this set is better for reprints than Masters 25? And it completely is, right?
Yeah.
Like,
any more nudes?
No. Oh, no. My creep away. There's only one. There's only one in the whole thing.
Well, when you see another one, send me a pic.
This episode's already 2 hours long. Leave us alone. Yeah. So, anyways, doubling season. You know what? I am not going to complain. I'm happy that we got it.
Yep.
Next is Generous Patron. So this is a partner card where I didn't highlight the other side of it because I didn't think it was that good. But Generous Patron might be something. So it's 2 to green for a 1/4. Oh no, this isn't the one I thought it was. Sorry, never mind. This one does not partner with something. Generous Patron enters the battlefield. You support 2, so you get to put some counters on. And whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, draw a card.
Weird.
Yeah. So you can. I highlighted this because there's Simic decks out there that will run like or even not non-Simic decks, I suppose, run graft cards. Like all of a sudden, graft can be a way to draw cards now. Just a little minor weird thing that you can do.
But it just says counters, so -1/-1 counters would go well. Like this is an auto in Hapatra, right?
You are correct. Yes. I didn't even think of that.
And it turns Guafa Hazid's bribe counters into like we both draw a card.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you get that Bant Guafa Hazid going.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. You know what? Good call. You're right. This is an auto include in Hapatra in any -1/-1 deck. Definitely. All right, cool. I'm glad at first I was like, oh man, I didn't think this was the card I thought it was. Maybe this is a mistake to put it in here. But
not a mistake.
It's fine. All right, next.
Ooh, another huge reprint. Greater Good. 2 green. Enchantment. Sack a creature. Draw cards equal to their power. Then discard 3 cards. I mean, I think we found the reason they made that like giant green creature that everyone fights it, right? Yeah. So it's like, but like, draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature power. Then discard 3 cards. most often that's like, this isn't a green deck. You're going to be netting many cards. And the fact that you have to discard 3, fine, man. If I'm going to draw 8 cards, there's for sure 3 junky lands I don't want in there anyway. No problem.
This is such a timely reprint with Muldrotha being out there. Like, what an amazing card this is with Muldrotha. Yep. Discarding the cards, you're just going to be able to cast those back. Drawing the cards is obviously great. A sack outlet in that deck is amazing. Even if someone deals with your greater good, guess what? Muldrotha just lets you cast it back again. Like, this card is an auto-include in that deck. It's an auto-include in any green deck that cares about any Golgari or Abzan sack deck.
I think it's an auto-include in any mono-green deck because,
it's just a great... Yeah, you're right.
It's a sack outlet that draws you cards. And as long as the power isn't less than 3, which very few cards in green are, then you're going to net something positive in this. Like a loot 3 for 3 is always a good move.
Yep, exactly. It's totally fine. Okay, great. Yeah, great or good. Very excited about that reprint. Next, this is the one. This is the partner where I didn't mention the other one. So we have Ley Weaver. Now, she partners with Lore Weaver. I guess maybe I'll just read Lore Weaver just to make sure it's not... But this one's cool. It's 3 and a green. Pardon me. 3 and a green for a 2/2 that you tap and you untap 2 target lands. So untapping lands in Commander is pretty cool, pretty powerful. Untapping 2 of them can be really good if you get any of the ones that, if you get any of the bounce lands or even any of the other ones. Like if you're in a Gitrog deck or something like that, and you have one of those ones that like taps for like 4 mana or something.
Right.
Like, Ley Weaver can just be absolutely great. This is an ability that before, I believe there's like a Crozen something where like you have to have like what's it called? 7 cards in your graveyard, whatever that's called.
Oh, I don't remember.
Whatever that mechanic is called, you needed to have 7 cards in your graveyard before you could untap 2 target lands. This just lets you do it. So
yeah.
And let me just double check Lore Weaver's.
Sure, I'll read the partner just for completion's sake. 3 and a blue, human wizard, 2/2, 5 blue. Target player draws 2 cards. That's a lot of mana for drawing 2 cards.
Yeah, it's a lot of mana for drawing 2 cards, so that's why we probably didn't mention her.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one.
Magus of the Candelabra. I mean, this was not an expensive card, but it's a Magus of a very powerful card. Single green for a 1/2 human wizard. X, tap. Untap X, target lands. So there you go. There are many ways to cheat and untap more than you're spending and make mana this way. And if you have a way to untap the Magus, you can do an infinite loop quite easily.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about the untapping creatures can lead to infinite combos and things like that. Well, Magus is one of the ones that will let that happen for you.
Yep.
Just important to note that it's back. Next is Pir's... Oh, no, wait. Oh, yeah. Next is Pir's Whim.
Yeah.
Got in there. Pir's Whim. We got to mention this one. This one's awesome. 3 and a green for a sorcery. For each player, choose friend or foe. See, these friend or foe ones ended up being pretty good. Each friend searches their library for a land card, puts it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffles their library. Each foe sacrifices an artifact or enchantment they control.
Yeah, this is brutal.
So, Sean, you brought this up that I think we were on stream when we looked at this card. So 4 mana for a Rampant Growth is not great, right? Usually that's like a 2 mana effect. However, this thing where everyone sacrifices an artifact or enchantment is very strong because on turn 4, when you want to cast this, probably the only things they have out are other mana rocks, or I guess maybe something like a Swiftfoot Boots or Lightning Greaves or something. In any case, it's great. You go up a land, they go down like a mana rock or something, right? Which I think is like worth it for the 4 mana, definitely.
Absolutely worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, it puts you ahead in the game by enough that I think it's worth using the 4 mana for it. So really cool. And also, just to note, it's not basic land.
Yes,
they search their library for a land card and put it into play tapped. So
yeah, search up that arcane. That what is it? What's the
Arcane
one that
Lighthouse?
Arcane Lighthouse takes away hexproof.
Yeah. Search for
Arcane Lighthouse, and then you steal that equipment with the.
You use
the
fumble.
Yeah.
yeah. Cool. All right.
Another huge reprint, Seedborn Muse, 3 green for a 2/4. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. All permanents, you get all your lands back. So I'm not an economy person. I'm not super genius at it, but I've heard that this is one of the cards that shot up in value because Prophet of Krufix got banned. But it was all kinds of speculator things. So the price ended up very high, but no one was actually buying it at that price. Mm-hmm. And no one's going to like, you can't like just, you're just sitting on a bunch of useless. So this reprint to bring it back down. I know Jason Alt, if you mentioned him before, he talks about there's an effect where a card is kind of rare and then something makes it spike, so everyone goes to the backs of their binders and they fish them out of all the little long boxes they have in like uncommons or like junk rares, and so all of those little lost copies disappear because everyone's like, hey man, I can find $20 in a bin I don't care about, no problem. So now that depletes everyone's like shoebox inventories of them, so there aren't a bunch of random Scene-born muses hanging around, which is why they stay so much. They shouldn't be this much. So I think not only will this drop a bit, I think it's going to drop even more. Like just the fact that it starts at 10, I mean, but then there's a psychology. Will people think it's cheap because they're otherwise 20? I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. I think this reprint will make it drop more than $10. I think we'll see this be a bit cheaper than that. But but this is a very powerful card, and it's an ability that doesn't get put on things a lot, especially since we saw how powerful Prophet of Krufix was that it got banned. So Seedborn Muse, good to have it. Some very strong green reprints in this set, I gotta say.
Yep, and we're not going.
Yeah, and we're not done with them. Skyshroud Claim is one that's worth mentioning. It is the 4-mana sorcery that search your library for up to 2 forest cards and put them into the battlefield. Shuffle your library. They don't come into play tapped. This is one of the best ramp spells in Commander because if you are running things like the shock lands and more recently the cycling lands from Amonkhet, and even there's a bunch of other ones now that have both the types, right? So like you can get a forest swamp with this, or you can get a forest plains or whatever. Mm-hmm. So Skyshroud Claim is very powerful for that reason. And then if you are getting those basics or the shocks, they don't have, or like the original dual lands, if you're Donald Trump, if you're a millionaire. I guess that reference of that rich guy now has other meanings as well.
Yeah.
But you can just get any colors you want. Skyshroud Claim is great. Happy to see it. This card was creeping up in value too. This card was looking at like $4, $5, even $6 in some places. So now it's back down. Hopefully to be around a couple gumballs. Looks like it's going to be.
You want more cents. Green reprints? We got more green reprints. How about Vigor? 3, green. 6, Elemental Incarnation. Trample. If damage would be dealt to a creature you control other than Vigor, prevent that damage. Put a +1/+1 encounter on that creature for each 1 damage prevented this way. They're not just indestructible, they just get stronger.
Yeah.
They're not truly indestructible. They can't be destroyed,
they can be destroyed,
they just can't die in combat from crashing into things.
They only get bigger.
When Vigor is put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into its owner's library. Well, la-dee-da. This was up to like $20, and again, it's back. Now it's like down to like under 10 for pre-sale. It's going to drop even further because I think it's just rare.
Yeah, it's just rare. It's not a mythic. So,
thank you, Wizards.
Right? So good. So, I mean, yeah, this is awesome. This is like the Incredible Hulk if it was just him, but Vigor is even better because it grants it to everyone else.
Hulks out your team.
Yeah, he hulks out your team. Great. So very, very strong. Get this for your +1/+1 counter decks. We are almost done here. This has been a very long one because Battlebond has so many great Commander cards in it. It's nuts.
Yeah.
We're on the multicolor, so very, very last home stretch here. A little bit disappointing, the multicolored cards. I will just say that ahead of this, but there are some good ones. This one is neat. Azra Oddsmaker. This is obviously a new card because I think Azra as a creature type is new. 1 black/red for a creature, an Azra warrior. It's a 3/3. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may discard a card. If you do, choose a creature. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw 2 cards. Neat little effect,
interesting.
Little interesting thing, red black. You're getting all your card draw from black usually, in that combo. So it's nice to add another little extra version. Plus, it's probably something you care about, getting some damage in, things like that. So just a little interesting card to think about. I don't know exactly what build this goes in. I don't know exactly what deck wants this really, but I thought it might be worth keeping an eye on. Mentioning.
Yeah.
This next one's cool.
multicolor last one standing, another Rakdos. 1 black-red for a sorcery. Choose a creature at random, then destroy the rest. Wow.
This is spicy.
Yeah.
3 mana, it's effectively a 3 mana board wipe. Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so like sometimes when board wipes leave a creature behind, people get to choose it. This is going to be randomly chosen. Might be yours, might be a bad one, might be an opponent's, might be a good one.
Might be a good one, might be bad. Exactly. It's really up in the air. It's purely like that's the red coming in there.
Yeah.
But I think that the idea that it's 3 mana, so you will probably be able to follow this up with some plays of your own, which is, the knock on expensive board wipes, obviously. So you can do this. Maybe they even do get to keep their best creature. It still handles like tokens. Anyone's board that got really big that way. Like, I think that this is a pretty good board wipe for these colors, because the black board wipes are generally quite expensive. They're usually 6 mana and up, and the red board wipes are all damage based. And again, outside of like Blasphemous Act, they're getting pretty expensive. Like the ones from like Ixalan and stuff, and like I don't know, the one from Amonkhet. Like, they're kind of expensive. So this is neat that it's so cheap.
So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to cast this spell, and I'm going to have a destroy target creature spell in my hand. So when you add the two together, it costs as much or more than 1 Wrath. Mm-hmm. But I might not have to use it, right?
Yeah, you might not care about that, yeah.
Right. So like that might leave a token on my opponent's side. Don't care. I've only paid 3 for a Wrath. I might have one of my creatures stick around. That's even better than a regular Wrath, right? It's a one-sided Wrath of sorts. I think the upside to this is very real. There's going to be so usually when you put a Wrath on the stack, all your opponents are like, well, I've got some sack outlets, so I guess I'll sack this creature, I'll sack this creature, I'll sack this. So it's like they can try to manipulate the odds in their favor by trying to reduce creatures by only having one. But get this, if they take their boards down to 1 creature and you leave all 5 of yours, it's like, well, it's probably going to be one of mine then, right?
Odds are, yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like, do it if you want to. It's a very intriguing card.
Yeah, I love the design on this card. I think it's really cool. I think this, like, you're going to love to run this in those black-red goblin decks, because like you're probably going to swarm the board with a bunch of goblins.
Sure.
And then it's like, okay, I have to wipe the board. Well, it's like, well, probably one of my goblins is going to survive because I have lots of them. And if you're in the what's her name? Wart, the
yes,
the black-red version of Wart.
Yes.
You can get all those goblins back from the graveyard anyway. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool. I think this is a really neat card. I love the design on that.
All right, last
multicolor card really worth talking about is Archon of Valor's Reach. So we mentioned earlier, the Archons, they're back. This one's 4 green-white for a 5/6 Archon with flying, vigilance, and trample. Very strong. As Archon of Valor's Reach enters the battlefield, choose artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, or planeswalker. Notably, I think the only thing you can't choose is creature. So artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, or planeswalker. Players can't cast spells of the chosen type.
Wow.
Players, yourself included, nobody can cast these things anymore. So if you're worried about counter spells, just say instant. If you got a Super Friends deck and you want to hose them hard, planeswalker. If you're afraid of that Duretti player rocking all those artifacts out, say artifact. There's a lot of stuff to do here.
If you've got a commanding board presence, most wraths are sorceries.
Yep, that's right. Exactly. Good call. Yeah. It's saying enchantment might be I guess if you know someone's running like a really cool enchantress deck, you might want to hose them. Enchantments are very powerful.
Intriguing card. And of course, we're going to want to clone this and copy this and just like start
say everything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this one's the artifact one. This one's the enchantment one. This one's the planeswalker one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Oh, Andy, we did it.
We did it. We're at the end. That's all, man. Just over 2 hours of content from your old boys at the Commander's Brew.
Well, thanks for sticking around and listening to them, hearing all of the hilarious cameos by Sarah.
Yeah, exactly. We saw some nudes today. We saw some really... bottom line with this set is that, like, they definitely had Commander in mind for this set. No question about it. The Partners with mechanic is very cool and exciting. Plus, these, really a wealth of great Commander reprints as well as new cards. There's some really cool new stuff in here that we're going to be able to use. Yeah, I mean, the only how do you feel about the two-headed giant part of this? Now that we've looked at a lot of these cards, like I was stoked to I was like, yeah, man, this is gonna be cool. I'll play two-headed giant with this set, and then it came out of it going like, well, I'm not gonna be upset if I never draft this or never play a sealed two-headed giant. I just want the commander cards.
I agree. I don't know. Two-headed giant is so strange to me because here's the other weird part. Now I've got two of us against two other people, and we're basically just doing a couple of if we got four people together, I'd rather do something multiplayer, right? Like we're sort of doing one-on-one with four people. It's like it feels like it's a waste of resources in a way. Granted, I haven't done much two-headed giant. I only do it in Commander once in a while when we're feeling saucy. But yeah, I don't know. I want to try it for sure.
Yeah, I think I'd like to try it. I would like to try the draft format where it's like you draft as a two-headed team, like so you each pick two cards from a pack and move it along, and that sort of thing. I'm interested to see how good that is, like how that works.
We should go to an LGS and try it sometime.
Yeah, we should.
Speaking of LGSs, they haven't dropped yet, but there's a ton of great pre-orders. Our new coupon code at Wizard Tower is now in effect, Summer of Brews. Use that coupon for the foreseeable future, presumably for the summer.
Right.
I bet it'll change after when the weather gets cold again. But yeah, the previews you're not able to buy them yet on the Wizard Tower, but you will soon, and as soon as you do, scoop them up.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening with the long haul here. There's no Brews news this week because we had an extra long episode, but next week we'll get another sketch out for you for all those looking for that. Otherwise, guys, thanks so much for listening to this full Battlebond set review. We will see you guys next week with a brand new episode. Goodbye.
Bye. If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.